Hello, everyone. I'm City Council President Yi-Ken Hu. Mayor Lube is joining us online today, so she asked me to preside over the meeting. So I will call this Tigard City Council and Local Contract Review Board meeting to order. City Recorder Krager, would you please conduct a roll call?
Councillor Singh.
Here.
Councillor Wolf is absent. Council President Hu.
Here.
Mayor Lube.
Here.
Youth Councillor Vogel.
Here.
Councillor Shaw.
Here.
Thank you. So everyone, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Council and city teammate, do you have any non-agenda items?
Nothing from us, Council President.
No. Thank you. Speaking of agenda, today's meeting, we have lots of them today. So very happy to have all the guests and speakers here today, but please don't be offended if I time check you or ask you to wrap it up, because I want to respect everybody's time so we can keep up with our schedule. So with that said, next item on the agenda is proclamation and recognition. So Mayor Lube has proclaimed April 7th to 13th as National Library Week, and Library Director Bernard will be here to read the proclamation. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Lube and City Councilors, members of the Tigard community, and fellow Tigard teammates. My name is Halstead Bernard. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the director of the Tigard Public Library. Thank you for proclaiming April 7th through 13th as National Library Week in Tigard. This was first sponsored in 1958 by the American Library Association, and it's a national observance each April to celebrate the contributions of our nation's libraries and librarians and to promote library use and support. And it is my honor to read the proclamation for you now. Whereas libraries offer the opportunity for community members to connect with others, learn new skills, pursue their passions, no matter where they are on life's journey. Whereas libraries have long served as trusted institutions, striving to ensure equitable access to information and services, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socioeconomic status. Whereas libraries adapt to the ever-changing needs of their communities, developing and expanding collections, programs, and services that are as diverse as the populations they serve. Whereas libraries are accessible and inclusive places that promote a sense of local connection, advancing understanding, civic engagement, and shared community goals. Whereas libraries play a pivotal role in economic development by providing resources and support for job seekers, entrepreneurs, and small businesses, thus contributing to local prosperity and growth. Whereas libraries make choices that are good for the environment and make sense economically, creating thriving communities for a better tomorrow. Whereas libraries are treasured institutions that preserve our collective heritage and knowledge, safeguarding both physical and digital resources for present and future generations. Whereas libraries are an essential public good and fundamental institutions in democratic societies, working to improve society, to protect the right to education and literacy, and promote the free exchange of information and ideas for all. Whereas libraries, librarians, and library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Week. Now, therefore, be it resolved, Mayor Heidi Lube of the City of Tigard, Oregon, does hereby proclaim April 7th through 13th, 2024 as National Library Week in the city of Tigard, and encourages all Tigard community members to visit the Tigard Public Library and celebrate the adventures and opportunities that libraries unlock for us every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Hosted. And here's the declaration, proclamation. All right. Next item on our agenda is public comments. For those who want to call in to provide public comment, the calling number is 503-966-4101. Again, it's 503-966-4101. Please call in to be on the queue. So next up is a follow-up of previous public comment, and we have Assistant City Manager Nyland to report. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. At last week's council meeting, we received 4 written comments. All were about Safe Lots. These were from individuals who had provided comments previously, so we sent an acknowledgement of receipt. We did not have any in-person commenters, nor did we have any callers or video participants. Lastly, I just wanted to congratulate all of us for surviving March Madness. So kudos to the women who continue to shatter glass ceilings, and now we're shattering the glass on basketball backboards, sports records, and television ratings. Bravo to us. That is my report for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant City Manager Nyland. Next up is Tigard Area Chamber of Commerce, and we have the board chair, Tom Engel, to provide an update. Good evening, Tom.
Good evening, everybody. You should have the update in written form. I want to highlight a few things for you. Leadership Tigard Skills and Tools Day did occur this month. We heard from several wonderful leaders. Mayor Lube, thank you very much for taking some time to meet with the class. It is very much appreciated. In terms of our Government Affairs and Public Policy Committee, we're going to be meeting on the 18th. We have moved to an online format, so it's more accessible and convenient for a wide range of businesses and nonprofits. In this same category, the Chamber has endorsed the Tigard Public Safety Levy, the TDF&R Levy, and Jason Snyder for Washington County Commissioner. We also have awarded 10 scholarships to high school seniors from Tigard and Tualatin High School, which I think is a record for us. Please watch our social media for announcements or join us at Shining Stars coming up in May. The Sustainability Fund, we're still gathering in applications. We have 4 applications pending. So if you know of anyone who might be eligible, please encourage them to reach out and either apply or call us with questions. In terms of Shining Stars itself, it's our 50th anniversary. May 10th, Embassy Suites, almost sold out. So if you haven't done so already, please purchase your tickets before April 19th. Also, as part of that celebration, we announced Fit Alliance as our Business of the Year last week at their 5-year anniversary ribbon cutting. We are still looking for silent auction donations. So also for the wine wall and the wine poll, if you have anything you would like to donate, wine or otherwise, experiences, wine just needs to be over $20 or more, and that could be dropped off at the chamber office between 9 and 3. Networking is tomorrow. That is actually going to be at Archers Field. If you haven't been there, it is really fun. Tigard Farmers Market. We're looking forward to a good season here. Record number of vendors have applied. Still have a few sponsorships available, and you should be hearing more about that on social media this month. Speaking of which, in terms of save the date, May 5th is market opening. Chief McDonald will be ringing our opening bell. And of course, save Shining Stars for the 10th. And follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook for the most up-to-date information. And that is the report. Does anyone have questions?
Councillor Shaw?
Thank you so much, Tom, for your report. And if possible, if you can, once those 4 applications are in for the sustainability business applications, if you could let us know what the feedback is, we would really appreciate that. Thank you.
In terms of feedback, meaning what their experience with the process was?
Yeah, the process, the application, was it easy to understand? Was it easy to fill out? Because that's the goal, is really to assist these businesses in their times of need. So just to make sure that's an easy to fill out application and the process is smooth and the return is quick on the application process as far as whether they're acknowledged to be receiving the grant or not.
Okay, that's a fair and reasonable request, absolutely. Thank you.
I don't see any questions, so thank you, Tom, for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on agenda is from a report from Tiger High School student envoy, Julie Hernandez Botello, with update council. Good evening, Julie.
I don't see Julie.
Julie's not here
Yeah,
yet? Okay,
no,
so
I
let's
don't see
skip
that
her
she's
for
on
now
there.
and let's jump right into the police chief update. Interim Police Chief McDonald will join us. Good evening, Chief.
Evening. Sorry, these chairs are always tricky with the gear. Good evening, Mayor, Council President Hu, members of council. Jamie McDonald, I'm your interim Chief of Police, and I'm here to present the dashboard for March of this year, so last month. And I chose to have the slide of the full, basically the full page there come up because it shows a lot of red, which is not what we want to see. That means that it's up over last year. And as you'll recall from the December report, or reporting back for the year of all of 2023, we were down considerably. But I want to point out a few of these specifically because they should be noted. So specifically looking at theft and organized retail theft. So those are up considerably. And when you look at something like 515% up one year over another, that should give us a clue about something, and it does. The law changed January 1st for organized retail theft, and it's made retailers a lot more motivated to actually call us and work with us on these types of incidents. So there's enhanced fines, there's more tools for us to be able to use. The state is actually going to be putting together a task force for this. And when we talk about organized retail theft, we're talking about groups that are traveling around the country and victimizing businesses. We're not talking about your average run-of-the-mill shoplifter, right? We're not talking about a high school student that goes up, steals something at a convenience store. We're talking about thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in many cases that are being stolen. In fact, just last week, our officers and some of our detectives came across a group that was working in the Portland metro area. Portland police ended up picking them up and ultimately giving them citations because we found out that another jurisdiction, I won't give out too much information because it's still an active investigation, but another jurisdiction in another state was serving a search warrant the next day, and they had over $300,000 worth of cases that they were working on this particular crew. So that gives you an idea of what organized retail theft is. This is a huge issue across the country. So that helps to explain part of that there. The other one that's up very significantly is graffiti. And I can tell you the reason why for that is because we have an officer that has, for the last year, starting in April of last year, been focusing on our efforts in downtown and really working on getting those things cleaned up. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's that many more incidents of graffiti. It just means that we're actually taking the reports for them. We've got somebody that's focusing on that. So those are some of the important things. And then another thing that I will bring up is, say, DUII enforcement, and then looking down self-initiated calls and dispatch calls for service. Those are all up. And those are, especially the self-initiated and the DUIIs, show that our staffing is getting better. That means that officers are getting more time to be working on proactive things. So like the self-initiated calls are up considerably, 22% over last year to date. And that means that officers are having more time to be doing some of that proactive enforcement. So for example, they're maybe getting more time to go work on some of those traffic issues in the neighborhoods that we so often are called about. So those are some of the things to explain that. And then I wanted to highlight, next slide please, some of the community events and things that we've been doing and have planned. So as you can see, I got to give a lot of credit to Maddie. I think most of you have met Maddie. She's our Community Engagement Program Coordinator, and she has her hand in every single one of these events for outreach, both the ones from March and the ones that are upcoming in April. And so this just goes to show a little bit about some of the engagement that we're doing out in the community. And then there's all kinds of other ones too that we end up not even hearing about until maybe after the fact, especially with our school resource officers. Like tonight, there's a scout troop over in the PD getting a tour, and they're working on some merit badge activity. So different things like that that we're trying to promote within the community. And then I also wanted to bring up, a couple of weeks ago, there was an article written in the Valley Times about stop data, so statistical transparency of policing. In 2017, the legislature passed a law that requires law enforcement agencies across the state to report their stop data, meaning if a police officer stops a car or stops a pedestrian on the street, we're required to report that interaction to the state. So our data gets reported monthly to the state, and I actually, we came up with an internal report that I evaluate each month to see where we're at, to look for any disparities as the months go on. So it doesn't come as a surprise at the end of the year, because we want to know where it's at. It goes so far as, at least internally, where we break it down to what we stopped people for. And so what I wanted to bring up is, for example, for last month, so for March, the vast majority, or at least the highest number, were speeding, running stop signs or red lights. Seat belts are very high. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, and expired registration has become a really big one. In fact, we've heard that from community members of how frustrated they are about seeing people driving around with what appears to be expired registration. And it is a problem, and that's something that officers are stopping and reminding people of. It also lets me know whether or not a citation was issued, and if it was a warning or an actual citation issued at the time. So it's actually something that we don't wait until the report comes out at the end of the year to be looking at this information. We're actually doing it proactively. I do it every month, and it's a conversation that we have monthly in the department, especially if we notice something that's unusual or unexpected, which rarely happens. And I'm happy to say that in the Valley Times, they observed that the report from the Criminal Justice Commission showed that Tigard was within the expectations of where we should be. And often the best way to describe the report and where should we be is, do we have the same types of stops and the demographic breakdown happening at, say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon versus 3 o'clock in the morning? It's probably the easiest and simplest way to break it down, and I'm happy to say yes, in Tigard we do. It's very similar, and that's been consistent for many years. And so I just wanted to bring that up because it was a report I think that a lot of people in the community saw. I know that many of you did, and I just wanted to recognize that and give a little more context to the stop data and the fact that we actually look at it and pay attention to this. We don't just wait until the report comes out annually. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have anything about, or any questions about anything from tonight.
Okay, Councilor Shaw.
Yeah, thank you, Chief McDonald. Appreciate the extra information around the organized retail theft, because I did look at that and think, wow, it seems significant. So good to know that the legislative action is working, and perhaps we need to do something similar through the League of Oregons for graffiti. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chief, for providing the context to the graffiti as well. And
Yes.
And that's nice to know that, because now we have more police officers have time to do be more proactive and doing things that we actually care about. So rather than things that you have to take care of. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yes, a lot of those quality of life things
Right.
are things that people in our community notice significantly. And so it really is something when we have the opportunity to focus on that and give some attention to it, we really try to. And with our staffing getting better, we're actually getting more of that opportunity to do that.
Thank you. Well, no questions, so thank you. See you next
You're
month. All right, so next item on the agenda is public comment, written comment. I believe we didn't receive any written comment by noon of yesterday, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, so let's move on to in-person public comment. And this evening, I have two people sign up. The first one is Dennis Wozniak. Welcome, Dennis. And you have 2 minutes after you state your name and the city you're from, and we should have a timer on the screen. Do we have a time? Just one second, please. If that's not available, no, we haven't started our timer yet. We usually have a timer on the screen, but if not, we will ask Councilor Shaw to be mindful of the time. Yeah, be the timekeeper. Oh, there we go. Okay, and your microphone's off, so can you? There you go. So yeah, so please go ahead.
Okay. Evening, Mayor, Council, staff, Dennis Wozniak. My wife and I have been residents of Tigard for over 50 years, and we've taken our kids to the fireworks festival, and we've taken our grandkids to the fireworks festival. And basically, we always enjoyed it, but I thought this is probably a good idea to have something a little change up this year. A little change is good sometimes. So I'd like to see the drone show as far as that goes. The problem is, this could be really, really successful. And by that I mean, I think it's the only drone show in town, and I think we could have a lot of people outside the area coming in to see the drone show. And from what I've read in the paper, that the best seats will probably be at Tiger Stadium. And I know when we used to take the kids there, we have a little picnic over to Cook Park. Kids play on the old playground, which is no longer there, which is good too. But I'm just wondering how it's going to work. If we have a lot of people here, I think maybe a little selfish, but if you pay for the party, you'd think that you get a little maybe preferential treatment. And I know if I hate to see the people from Tigard, the residents, after paying out $80,000, not being able to get a good view of the show or having a bad experience possibly. So I just wondering, and I know it's awful tough when we bring things to every year or so, they have the, I think, debris drop-off, where you show your ID and you go ahead and drop off the goods there. And I know that's probably just really tough to do here, but I wonder if there's some way that maybe the residents of Tigard could get some preferential treatment. I know with the police, it's going to be all hands on deck, because I think a lot of people are going to want to see a drone show. And I just hope that we have something in plan where possibly that the Tigard residents do get a little extra treatment, where they'll have a good and favorable experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. I noticed you didn't leave any phone or email. Would you like a response from the city on your comment, or are you okay? Okay, so if you would put down your name or email or phone number, we will get back to you. You could do that too. Thank you. All right, so next person on our public comment list is Severin. I know, Hammond, thank you. I know you are here all the time, but it's usually Mayor Lu pronouncing your name, so sorry for Severin. Severin, okay. So Severin, please, you have 2 minutes. Thank you.
I want to begin by apologizing for a statement I made at the March 26th meeting. I had said that Heidi Livingston, the preschool director at Christ the King, was kicked out by Pastor Dorothy. After the meeting, Dorothy approached me, told me I was wrong. We had a civil conversation, shared my perspective on the situation. It sounds like there was a breakdown in trust in the relationship between the two parties. Heidi made her own choices, so I apologize to Dorothy for saying that Heidi was kicked out, and I want to clarify that Heidi was not kicked out. I also want to thank Kim Mazel for a very thorough and thoughtful presentation at the last meeting. Particularly appreciate her speaking to the Good Neighbor Agreement. That's been one of my biggest concerns. And one area I want to speak to tonight is the way the city of Tigard selected the Christ the King Lutheran site. It seems that Just Compassion was given free rein to find a host site for the safe parking program. After first hearing about the potential program at Christ the King, we reached out to Just Compassion, spoke with Christy Anderson, the safe parking coordinator. We asked what parameters the city of Tigard gave them in selecting the site. She said they weren't given any, so they looked for potential partners that they had a history of working with the houseless. I understand from the last meeting that if a church wants to host a program on their property, it's their right to do that. However, with the city involved, even though there's been talk at this last council meeting about location, design, operation, it seems Just Compassion wasn't given any parameters. It doesn't feel like the site at Christ the King was critically considered. It doesn't seem like any of those parameters really regarding location, design, operation, security, privacy were considered. Obviously, my concern is personal. I want to be a good neighbor. I want to live next to good neighbors. To me, the good neighbor thing to do would be to establish specific criteria in selecting a site. Location, design, operation, security, privacy. Share those with the community. Establish criteria, and then do an honest audit of the proposed site at Christ the King. I think if that was done and the city could show that Christ the King satisfied those criteria, then you'd further establish trust with the community and with the neighbors. But if the site failed to meet the criteria, I think you'd learn from your mistakes and find a better site. This isn't about being driven by fear. Can I have 20 more seconds?
Yeah, please wrap up.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, we all know in the spheres of our lives, there's a balance between risk and caution. Both are needed. We need to take risks. We need to reach out. We need to welcome the stranger. But we also need to be reasonable and understand and address the deeper issues surrounding houselessness. So thank you for your time and consideration. I do hope we can continue to have a meaningful conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Mr. Thornburg, do we have anybody on in the phone queue?
None at this time.
How about video queue?
None at this time either.
All right, thank you. And I want to give one more chance to Julie Hernandez Botelli. Julie, are you with us? Okay, so we'll look forward to your report next month. All right, let's move on to city manager report.
Good evening, Council President. Good evening, Mayor and councilors as well as the community members, our community partners, and my teammates that are here tonight. I want to start by thanking all of you again, as well as the leadership team, Kim, Nicole, for joining us all day on Saturday in this room as our mid-year check-in, as we called it, just to talk through some of our goals, the progress we're making on those, as well as many other important topics. Tying that to tonight's meeting, I think it's important for the community to understand one of your topics was talking about the Tyler project, or T2, which is our significant project we have going on in our enterprise resource planning efforts. And tonight it's on consent agenda because of the in-depth conversation you had on Saturday. Obviously, Maya's here, I'm here. If there's questions that you have in relation to that, we did put it on consent just because of the thorough nature of the conversation on Saturday. So just for the public's awareness as well. A few other things, a lot of library conversation tonight, and there's gonna be more library conversation. So I received a really good number from Halstead and team recently that 21,092 people visited our library in March, which is the highest number we've had this fiscal year. Our fiscal year starts in July, and so 9 months through, over 21,000 patrons visited the library, which is a great number. We know all the great things happening there, so it's not a surprise that people want to be at our library, even with the weather starting to turn. You also know that we continue to work on our recruitment efforts. You've heard from the chief, our former chief, and others on some of the things we're doing. Our public works team is also doing the same thing. So Kyle and Jessica, we're representing the city at a career fair at the Clackamas Community College for high school students. So once again, trying to expose people to opportunities working in local government, specifically here at Tigard. Last week, we had a walkthrough at our Cook Family Park Inclusive Playground. So the grand opening, hopefully everyone knows, is May 17th. There's a lot of excitement with all the activities down there now. At the egg hunt, everyone's looking at the playground. There's no guarantees yet, but it's sounding like we're gonna be able to have a soft opening and be able to remove those fences a little earlier than May 17th. Date still to be determined, but once we know that, we'll make sure all of you know, the community knows, because we're assuming the parking lot's gonna fill up with families and children wanting to play on that great new facility that we're going to have in this community. Also, just as a FYI, many of you may have seen the project, Faneuil Creek project, that's going on right by the library. You've seen a bridge that's been installed. I think there's been some excitement thinking that a pedestrian bridge is going to be there. That's for construction purposes. Hopefully someday in the long-term planning, we'll have connections like that, but right now that is a bridge for construction purposes only. So, but we do have, I think as we mentioned before, something that we would like to be able to connect, obviously, the library and our trail system in that direction as well. And last but not least, also with the library, we'd like to conclude with all the great comments that we get, our team receives for the efforts that they have there. And so recently, one of our senior patrons was visiting last week, and she said she was there because a friend had recently brought her grandchild to our library and had a hard time pulling them away because it was such a great place to be and it was so much fun. So she had to check it out herself. So she came to the library and was very impressed by the wonderland of our children's room and the amazing family story time Holly was doing in the room at the time, and she shared how important libraries have been and continue to be in her life, and thanked the whole team for the incredible work that they do there. So kudos to the library team that's here today, many others, the board, and volunteers, Halstead, and everyone. So that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Reimer. Councilor, any questions, comments? No, good. So let's move on to our next item, which is the consent agenda item that the City Manager was talking about. So the consent agenda is used for routine items, including minutes and approval of contracts or intergovernmental agreements. Information on each item is available on the city's website in the packet for this meeting. Items may be enacted in one motion without separate discussion. Council members may request that an item be removed by motion for discussion and separate action. This evening's consent agenda item is the Tyler Technology Public Section Software Solutions. As City Manager Reimer mentioned, there was a robust discussion in this past Saturday's council special meeting, and for anybody listening who's interested in that discussion, it's available on the city's YouTube channel. So if you really want to look at it, it's there. Councilors, is there a motion or discussion or question?
Council President Hu, given the extensive discussion we had on Saturday, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
All right, so the motion has been moved and second. City Recorder Krieger, do we do a roll call vote or?
You don't have to for a resolution, but I can if you'd like.
Would you please do a roll call
All right.
vote?
Councilor Singh,
Yes.
Council President Hu,
Yes.
Mayor Lube,
Yes.
Councilor Shaw.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion is adopted by unanimous vote of council present. All right, we're perfectly on time, so wonderful. So next item on our agenda is a presentation of Curtis Tiger's birthday, and it will be presented by Tiger Historical Association Vice President Margaret Doherty. Welcome, Margaret.
Thank you very much. For the record, I'm Margaret Doherty. I've been a member of Tigard's community for a little over 30 years. And so we want to thank you on behalf of the Tigard Historical Association for this presentation. We're here tonight to talk about Curtis Tigard and some other folks, but I also want to introduce Aaron Crawford, who's one of our volunteers, to talk a little bit about history and what we do with the THA, and then we'll go to our presentation on Curtis Tigard.
Perfect. Thank you for the introduction, Margaret. Like she said, my name is Erin Crawford, and I am a volunteer with the Tigard Historical Association. And we just wanted to say it's a passion of mine that history should not be kept solely in the dusty halls of a museum, away from the eyes of the public, but as a living, breathing thing that we have the opportunity to interact with, learn from, and experience in multiple formats. As a state, lumber has been our major export over the years, but it's not Oregon's #1 resource. Community is our #1 resource, and by educating today's youth members of our community, we are giving them a concrete way to interact with history. We are making an investment in our #1 resource by encouraging their investment in their community. The THA is a completely volunteer-run organization. We're always welcoming new members, new ideas, and new opportunities, and this is critical as we continue to rebuild and redefine our post-COVID programs. Experiencing history in a physical space is invaluable. Objects from the past give us a window into the daily lives and experiences of those who came before us. These artifacts are a finite resource that we must manage carefully because they are the physical legacy that we leave for future generations. By being good stewards today, we ensure that future generations will be able to enjoy and learn from the past. The John Tigard House is an excellent example, saved from demolition and lovingly restored for the enjoyment of all. Thank you again, Council, for allowing us to speak, and I invite you now to enjoy this prepared presentation by members of the Tigard Historical Association.
Okay, thank you, Erin. Okay, as you see on the slide, we've got a gorgeous picture of Curtis Tigard. And Curtis Tigard, who was born on April 13th, this would have, on this Saturday, or a week from Saturday, would be his 115th birthday. Next slide. Many of us knew Curtis Tigard as someone who, at 108 and 109, was still out there playing golf. And he was hitting the golf course, he was still involved, he was very, very active for somebody who was very, very advanced in age. But he was always a member of the Tigard community. Next slide, please. But a long, long time ago, next slide, Curtis was born here in Tigard on April 13th, 2009. Next slide. His parents, who were Rosa Homan and Charles Fremont Tigard. Charles was born in 1860 and Rosa was born in 1870, and they were married on May 22nd, 1892. And so they were here again here in Tigard, because we all know that Wilson Tigard was the person who Tigard was named after, initially Tigardville, and so it's kind of, we live in a very unique situation because we have people who are still around. This is Curtis's son David, that our city is named after, so it's a very, very important thing. But with his parents, next slide. His father, Charles, is the namesake for C.F. Tigard Elementary School. And as I say, he was served two terms in the legislature and was the first postmaster general in Tigard. And the post office was located in his general store, which is located in northeast at the corner of McDonald and 99 to where currently where the Goodwill is now. Next slide. Here we have pictures of Charles Tigard's family. And so what we had Curtis. He was joined by his brother George, his sister Rosa, and if you look down on the corner, their dog Trixie, which was also part of the family. Next slide. George, Curtis, and Grace also posed with Mr. Tonkin, who was a family friend. And you notice in the background, we've got a horse and a buggy in the background because that was the mode of transportation. But there were a lot of people in Tigard that we are still namesakes. For example, Marvin Gardy, Kurt and Leonard Thomas. They were relaxing in the front yard. And so these are all namesakes in Tigard. And on Armistice Day, which was the end of World War I, Curtis and his friends rang the church bells to announce the end of World War I. And that was one of the things that he really remembered as a child. Next slide. This was East Butte Grade School, and it was built in about 1898. And this is where Curtis, and in fact, all of the kids in Tigard went to school. And it was located at 99W and Grant Street, and that's where it was. But in 1918, both Curtis and Marvin Gardy rescued books from the school because the school was burning down. And Curtis was only 9 years old when he did this. Next slide. And so the kids in Tigard had to find, they actually had to build another school. So in 1923, they built Tigard grade school, which is, as I say, built in 1923, but it was across from where Jack in the Box is now. And so I'm trying to, hopefully you guys can visualize where these were at one time. Next slide, please. During Curtis's youth, Tigard did not have a high school. Tigard High School did not have one until 1927. And so he actually went to Beaverton High School. And there were times that he actually would walk to Beaverton High School every day. And so imagine going, and it's where the current Beaverton High School is now located. So imagine going from, you know, we've got some kids that say, I've got to walk all the way from 99 down to Tigard High School. Imagine going from downtown Tigard and walking to Beaverton High School. But a lot of times during the week he would actually stay in Beaverton with his friends. And so, because that was the closest school. And so he graduated from Beaverton High School in, I think, 1925 or 1926. But it wasn't until the next year that Tigard High School was built. Next slide, please. After he graduated from Beaverton High School, Curtis went to now OSU, but back then it was Oregon Agricultural College, and he graduated in 1930. And it's kind of ironic, the timing on this, because Oregon State Board just came out with the new tuition increases and the percentages that they're doing increases in tuition. But back then in 1930, tuition was $12 a term, and is currently $8,500 a year, but that's, or $8,500, but that's actually gone up a little bit. This is a little outdated. But he was very, very proud of being a Beaver and going to Oregon State. Next slide, please. While he was at Oregon State, in fact, actually his freshman year, he and 5 of his friends rented a house. They shared cooking, they shared laundry. And what he also did is he also joined the Army ROTC, which at that time paid him $57 per quarter. And by the time that Curtis graduated from college, he was a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army. Next slide, please. So in 1929, the stock market crashed, and it was the beginning of the Great Depression. And that was the year that Curtis graduated from, next year he graduated from OSU. And so this is his graduation picture from Oregon Agricultural College in 1930. Next slide, please. In 1935, Curtis went to work for the U.S. Bank. In fact, he spent 34 years with his career with the U.S. Bank. And he was also a member of the Army Reserves stationed in Fort Vancouver Barracks. And so he was actually in the Army Reserve for quite a long time, and became active. Next slide. On December 7th, 1941. In fact, that was actually the year, in December of 1941, is when Curtis married his first wife, I think it was Bernice, that died actually a couple of years later. Or that was his first wife. His second wife he married in 1941. But in December 7th, he was again in the military. Next slide. And so he became extremely active in the World War II effort. And so like so many Americans, he joined the war effort to help achieve victory. He served initially in North Africa, working to drive the Nazis out of Casablanca. He later served in Italy as the German army retreated. Next slide. And near the end of the war, he was sent to the Pentagon because of his, not only his training and background, but also because of the type of person he was. And his assignment was to scour military records to find officers who were qualified to lead the invasion of Japan, which is, in his own words, was thankful that it never happened. Next slide. After the war, it came more for family activities. And as they say, he was very, very active in the Tigard community. and just really loved what he was doing, and so he was very, very active. And here he was not only that, but he was active he had his wife, and he also had his son, David, who still lives, not in the Tigard area, but still lives in the Portland area. Next slide, please. Back in civilian life, Kurt went to work at the U.S. Bank, and he served for the Tigard branch manager for 18 years. Next slide. He spent his entire life his professional career in the banking industry, but the one place you could always find him was on the golf course. And whether it was a golf course here, later on it was King City, you could always find him, and that's where he liked to spend most of his vacations, was on the golf course. Next slide, please. And of course, he also was quite a horseman. This is a little side thing, but he always made a clean getaway on the horse of a different color when he was traveling in Italy, in Sicily. Next slide, please. On his 100th birthday, in fact, the library had a big celebration for his 103rd birthday, for his 100th birthday, and Curtis was around for a long time, and so he did have his 3-digit birthdays. And he, for example, for a while, he was the oldest graduate of Oregon State University, OAC, and he was also the oldest graduate of Beaverton High School. And so next slide, please. So we always enjoyed his birthdays. He was also, he got to a point that although they didn't have the military department didn't have the records, they were under the assumption that he was also the oldest veteran that we had in the state of Oregon. But he was a distinguished 1923 graduate of Beaverton High School. They honored him, and they still remember him. Next slide. But his pride and joy was his Oldsmobile. And I think a lot of you remember, you could see him driving around with his custom plates. And the one thing that's about him is you could see him driving around because he did get his driver's license renewed when he was 103 years old. He did take an in-car test, passed it with flying colors. And so I'm not quite sure he was driving at 109, but at 103, he did have a valid driver's license. Next slide, please. Curtis left us on July 25th, 2018, and he really was one of the great generation. And he was very, very shy about the title because he did a lot of things, especially when it came to planning in World War II and kind of working behind the scenes trying to end the war as much as one man could do. But he was a man of great character. He served all of the citizens of Tigard. Any of you that went to his birthday parties that we had at John Tigard House, he was always so gracious to everybody that came, and he was so happy and so honored that people did. But he lived on his own for a few months until before his death. He's survived by his son David and his grandsons Charles and William, so we still have Tigards that are around. But Curtis Tigard was truly a great man, and those of us that knew him were honored to be able to participate in some of the activities. In the back, we do have a big poster that has a lot of Curtis's birthday activities, but we appreciate you giving us the time for this, because they say Saturday would be his 113th birthday, or 115th birthday, and we just happened to be having our Founders Day at the John Tigard House that day. So let's all be very proud that we knew one of the relatives of the founding father of Tigard, and that we were all very proud to know him. So thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Margaret and Aaron. Counselor, you have any?
Okay.
Oh, Counselor Shaw.
Thank you both so much, both Aaron and Margaret. As somebody who likes to visit and lives close by the East Butte Park, which is where the John Tigard House is located, it's just such a treasure to have that in our community and that it was restored back to its original condition, including, my understanding is there's no plumbing in the house. I can't imagine that. Nor walking to Beaverton. But Saturday, is that an open event? So
From
the
1 to
community
4.
members, from 1 to 4 p.m., so community members can go to the John Tigard House?
Absolutely. And we've got presentations on the founding, talking about Wilson Tigard and Charles Tigard and some of these others. And and also some of the other founding families that we have in Tigard, so, that are still here. So anyway, thank you very much. Very proud to be a Tigardian.
I think Mayor Loop wants to say something.
Okay, yes, Mayor Lube?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for your presentation. I knew a lot of the information, but loved learning additional facts, and I think it's really important that we gave this time. So thank you again for being here and sharing with us.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on our agenda is the Launchpad Business Accelerator update. And we have Economic Development Manager Purdy to introduce the entrepreneurs. Good evening.
Good evening, Council. Team, feel free to sit anywhere you want. We'll get us going while you all get situated. Good evening, Council, colleagues, and community members watching tonight. My name is Lloyd Purdy. I'm the Economic Development Manager for the City of Tigard. I'm here to share with you a program that you know a little bit about. It's a program that has received inquiries from as far away as the City of Boston and the City of Pittsburgh. It's a program that focuses on some of our key economic development strategies that include economic mobility, entrepreneurism, small business support, and it's our 2 business incubator programs. And tonight I've asked the entrepreneurs that are participating in this program to join us so that you can say hi to them, so that they can tell you briefly a little bit about themselves and what they're doing. This program is a program that removes barriers to entry for new entrepreneurs. It offers food amenities at Universal Plaza and at the library, both requests from our community. It also creates an opportunity for us to invite food entrepreneurs into the City of Tigard to create a more vibrant entrepreneurial and restaurant scene. Again, something that is at the request of residents. This program works because we use our resources, in this case, a space at the library and 2 city-owned food carts, as well as Universal Plaza, as a way to reduce initially rent for entrepreneurs. It's a chance for these entrepreneurs to gain access to a marketplace of customers, either library customers or visitors to the plaza. And each of these entrepreneurs receives coaching from one of our business advising partners, be that MISO, which is Micro Enterprise Services of Oregon, or Livelihood Northwest, or the Small Business Development Center. So this is a program that really supports early stage entrepreneurs. And what's exciting to me is we're starting basically season 2 of the Launch Pod at Universal Plaza, and we have our second entrepreneur at the library, at the Opportunity Cafe. So without me talking to you very much longer, I'm going to introduce you to all of our entrepreneurs, and then probably starting from left to right. Congratulations, you get to start, Michelle. I'll invite them all to say a couple words about who they are, their business, and either where they're going or something about their experience with us so far. So furthest on my left, just say hi for a moment, is Michelle Cruz at the Opportunity Cafe, and we'll come back to you in a second. And then next to Michelle is Jay Kwan, owner of Wow Cow, who brought his own cart, a privately owned cart, to the Launch Pod. And then on my right, Mia Selders, bringing ice cream to downtown at the Launch Pod via Nunny and Phoebes. Next to her, returning for his second season at the Launch Pod, Joshua Carrion. And then our first graduate is here with us of the Launch Pod, which is Juliana Mosley. Thank you for pausing while my brain caught up with me. Juliana Mosley, who has launched from the Launch Pod and is now located at a restaurant, Oregon's first sangria bar on Main Street. So that's our introduction. And Michelle, do you mind starting us off? And I'll make sure to coach you on how to turn the mic on, but just say a couple words about who you are, what you're doing in business, what you're enjoying about your experience, or the challenges you're learning about and overcoming. Okay. Yep.
Good evening to you all. Thank you for giving me this opportunity and share my experience at the Launch Pod. I am forever thankful for having the opportunity and start my business there. It has been quite a rough story, but I am glad to be able to achieve that. Being only 22 years old, I'm able to achieve some of my goals that I have. It's a great opportunity to have connections with the community around, establishing relationships outside of work with the community, and kind of just giving a little taste of what I cook. I'm forever thankful for my mom and grandma for always putting me in the kitchen as a kid and having me cook. So now that I'm able to give out some of my tastes to the community, it's very, very emotional.
Sorry, Michelle, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did want to ask you, what is your favorite dish that you like to serve to customers at the Opportunity Cafe?
Well, something that I always get requested, like almost every week, are the tamales. I would make vegetarian, gluten-free, and chicken tamales, and we add a special savory to them, from just the masa to the meat to the broth. It's a lot of work doing that, but it's great to get feedback and catering requests for the tamales, just like the tostadas, my enchiladas, and that's only Fridays and Saturdays that I sell my specials. And I see that there's a lot of people that come during the weekends to see what specials I have for that week. So it's very great to see people come back and always asking for more.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Jay, I'm going to ask you the same thing. I'm going to ask you to share a little bit about, as one of the new entrepreneurs in the LaunchPod, maybe where you're coming from and where you hope to go, what you hope to experience and achieve during your time at the LaunchPod.
Thank you, everybody, for your time. And me being here is just almost so, it's like hitting the lottery. That's how I feel. Yeah, every day I pinch myself and like wonder how many people would love this opportunity just to be in my spot. And so thank you, Lloyd. Thank you to the city for accepting like my concept. And I hope that I can bring something like a little essence of Korea and then infuse it into these new dishes. Not trying to reinvent the wheel, not trying to make anything too crazy, but make something that people can latch on to. My favorite thing that I have right now is probably going to be either the rice bowl, which is very traditional kind of bibimbap style, and then we mix it with a lot of American flavors. It's just a very hearty thing to eat with a lot of different good flavors that are coming out of it. I've seen a good reaction on the Korean Philly as well, which is way different from anything else that I've heard. And so people have been really engaging. People have been really, I guess, accepting of us being here, and also having these entrepreneurs working side by side has formed like a little tight-knit community, which I loved, you know, and it's becoming my second family, and they're helping me out as much as I'm helping them out, and we're just kind of pushing each other to make this little area, this plaza, become a good staple of Tigard. And what I've learned just throughout this whole meeting is incredible. Like, I should come to these city council meetings more often. Like, it blows my mind that tuition was $17 at one point. You know, it's just like, does the inflation rate actually equal up to that? I don't know. But yeah, I think this opportunity is honestly one of the best opportunities that people like entrepreneurs that don't have any outlet or any type of, I guess, way to get into what they want to do. It's amazing. It's crazy to be here, and I pinch myself every day, and I'm so lucky to be a part of this program and to be part of this whole LaunchPod movement, I guess.
Thank you, Jay. You know, Jay mentioned that he feels like he won the lottery. I should remind council that each of these entrepreneurs competed for one of our spots. Highly competitive. They took care of business plans, marketing plans, financial analysis. They didn't just win this. They stood out from a competitive field of candidates. And as Jay mentioned, each of these entrepreneurs are, for all intents and purposes, first-time entrepreneurs. They're not early in the business phase, meaning they're not even at that point yet where they're early phase business owners. They're just becoming early phase business owners. The LaunchPod and the Opportunity Cafe give them a chance to try new things, build a reputation, build a market base, and occasionally take some missteps, but we're here to support them with a supportive network so that a misstep isn't a big failure. So continuing with the introductions, Mia from Nunny and Phoebes. You're going to have to tell everybody what Nunny and Phoebes, the name is from, because it's fabulous. And then with that, tell us a little more.
My name is Mia. Nunny and Phoebes was kind of an accidental business. It was actually a project that my daughter and I started during the pandemic because I was just way burned out at work and life, and not just work, but just everything. And so I just needed some more time with her, and so we started making popsicles and ice cream at home, and then we started selling it in our, not even selling it, just giving it away to neighbors in our driveway with our like garden vegetables. And that's kind of like where it started. I had like a few people that kept coming back, and then it just kind of like branched out from there to like the west side, the east side, the north side, the south side. And then I was at, you know, we live in Milwaukee, so we tried to get to the Milwaukee market. We tried to like do some festivals, but nothing was open by the time we were permitted. So a friend recommended the Tigard Market, and that's it. Like, we got in, and people were so welcoming, and so that's kind of the story. So anyway, we're just excited to be in the community. We want to just bring forth our best flavors. What I'm really excited about is we're going to start offering mochi ice cream. So if you ever get it, you know, just pick your own scoop, and we'll wrap it up, and it'll be a nice ball of joy. So I think that's it. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Mia. And Nunny and Phoebes is, your daughter's name is Nunny?
Yes.
No.
So Nunny is, our daughter's name is Phoebe, so we call her Phoebes. And Nunny is her lovey, her stuffy, her best friend at home. So it's kind of a symbolic gesture of like friendship. And it's more than just ice cream. It's about making sure that people know that they are special and they matter. So just trying to bring joy to the community.
Thank you, Mia. And as Mia mentioned, she came to us from the Tigard Farmers Market, as did one other of our entrepreneurs who you'll hear from at the literal end of the line here. But in the meantime, Joshua and his brother Alfredo are starting their second season at the Launch Pod, and they've started something I'm super excited about, the Torta Challenge. He might tell you more about that. I can tell you more about it later. But Joshua, go ahead and hit your button, get that green light, and tell everybody a little bit about West Coast Torta and maybe where you're heading.
Okay. Yeah, so West Coast Torta Company began as a concept over 10 years ago. My older brother would, pitch me these ideas, and I was still young and in culinary school, and it kind of opened my mind even more being in school and working in the industry and learning from him, like his amazing recipes. It would just kind of grow in my mind too. So it's been a lifelong dream of ours, and I'm super grateful for the City of Tigard and the LaunchPod program, because it helped us kind of expedite the business process, because opening a business is not an easy feat. So being here, and launching our business last year, going through the grand opening and getting such great momentum, like our first month, we were looking at each other and we're like, what did we get ourselves into? But like we kept our heads down and just kept grinding and worked our system. So our first year was really about learning and just kind of solidifying our recipes and our system. The biggest learning curve really was that it's better to grow slowly and organically rather than all at once or not at all. So we've definitely been growing little by little every day, and we're super stoked. Lloyd mentioned the 5,000 Torta Challenge, which is something that we kind of came 50,000. No, 5,000.
Was it only 5,000?
No, we gotta start small. we gotta start a little bit lower than 50K. But yeah, so our goal is to sell the 5,000 tortas. Last year we got pretty close, so I think it's a manageable goal. And yeah, I mean, it's just we just plan to do it because we have way more momentum this year. There's more hype around the park. People are happy to get out and kind of come enjoy the splash pad and the new carts. So, another little thing that I was going to mention too that we're excited for is we've just recently applied for our liquor license. So we want to serve a couple beers with a little late night happy hour menu we're working on, kind of serve like a later crowd. So that's, a couple items that we have are like a shrimp cocktail and a calamari that we'll be serving hopefully with our beer here in the next month or so.
Thank you, Joshua. And as we know, because Juliana perfected it, we know that adult beverages work at the Launch Pod because she brought Oregon's first sangria bar, the state's first sangria bar, to Tigard by opening Harvest Moon Experience in the green cart. And Juliana, go ahead and maybe tell everybody a little bit about that, and then tell them the steps that you have now taken and what you're doing now.
Yeah. Can I lift this? I'm really tall. Sorry. Hi, I'm Jules. That's what I go by, Juliana. It's good too. Julio, my grandpa calls me. Let's not do that in public. Just kidding. So I have been in hospitality for 17 years. I helped open a couple bars and a rum distillery in Hawaii. And then it was like, I feel like service industry is kind of this like where all the lost souls go to find what they want to do. But there's people who it's their everything. And I learned that at like 21. I was like, wow, I'm really obsessed with serving people, and it's a good way to take care of the community and make money at the same time. And I wanted to stay in it, and I felt like I had hit my peak in the industry because there's really not a lot of opportunity in restaurant to grow. It's kind of just you stay in the same job. So COVID came, and I had my dream job in Hawaii and just shut it down. So I moved back. I'm from Newburgh originally, and I've always loved Tigard because you guys have a mall and and a bowling alley, so that was always nice. It was like the big city, so it's kind of full circle that I moved back. I knew I wanted to stay in service. It was really like horrible times for COVID with hospitality, so I knew I wanted to bring it back to the experience, and that's where the name came from. And then I knew that I wanted to take a risk and open something wild and crazy and stay in what I love. And I started the farmers markets in Tigard. That was my first farmers market. This was 2 years ago, and I believe I met Heidi, and Jeanette Shaw was actually the one who came up and approached me about the Launch Pod. And she was like, who are you? What are you doing? And we need this, follow through, and just email. So I ended up making a BFF out of it. Lloyd Purdy is the best. And they immediately saw the vision, and that's really hard, especially when you are, certain a female business owner. I'm Native American, Mexican, and I'd like to think I'm still young. But it was just wild to have you guys just immediately see the concept. And I kind of felt like this wasn't a dream, because it was like I had met Jeanette at the farmer's market and everything went so smooth with Lloyd. It's really hard to convince people that a sangria bar is a good idea, but somehow. And then I did the Launch Pod, and we grew a little bit faster than we were anticipating. And now we are opening our brick and mortar on Main Street, and there doesn't feel real. There's just as many trials, like there's going to be a lot of hills. There's always going to be a lot of hills, but the Launch Pod gave us an opportunity to strengthen the muscles that we need to just look at problems and be able to be like, you know what, I've kind of been through something similar to this, and I know there's there's hopefully a positive outcome, and typically it is working with Tigard because you guys are so quick with things out here. Just another thing is I'm just grateful to be able to give people hope in that you can do something like this and be able to talk to anybody and be like, you have an idea and you believe in it. There is a community out there who will definitely, back you, and you guys have been one of those. So thank you so much. Come get some sangria and brunch.
Thank you, Juliana, Joshua, Mia, Michelle, Jay. Thank you all for being here, for sharing your stories with council, or my colleagues, with the community. I'm proud of all of you. You're doing great. Council, as you can see, this is a great group of people. Jules mentioned that as a female, minority, young entrepreneur, she felt supported by this program, and that's what this program is supposed to do, is to help entrepreneurs in general. I'm super excited that we've been able to help minority or underrepresented entrepreneurs in this program in particular. That means a lot. I think it means a lot to all of us. With that, I think we're done unless you all have any questions or follow-ups or anything else.
Mayor Loop, please go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I loved hearing some more of your stories, and now I have a list of food that I have to come eat, and I look forward to doing that. I also want to say how much I love this program. I talk about it at every conference that I go to. Lloyd, I'm probably the reason you're getting all the phone calls because I can't stop talking about it to other mayors. And I even had one person at my Meet the Mayor go, "Why does the city do this?" And I said, "What do you mean?" They go, "Well, what's in it for the city?" And I go, "It's a win for everybody. We have these incredible community members who are learning the skills to create their own businesses and get a leg up. Our community gets really awesome food, and we get to be the place that it happens. This is just truly an awesome government program that I can't talk about enough, and I love hearing your success stories and everything that you're learning, and I can't wait to visit all of the places you're going to go after you spend your time with us. Thank you for being here tonight."
Councilor Shaw.
Great. I'm regretting I did not have dinner because between the tamale, the rice bowl, the tortas from Cocktail Sangria, followed by the ball of joy, the mochi, I should have eaten. But you gave me goosebumps. I just think this is just an opportunity that I'm so thrilled you all were able to compete for. And also want to thank the teammates with Tigard who really put a lot of kind of risk and sweat equity into this program. And for Tigard being the legacy, whether it's the John Tigard House with Curtis Tigard leading a lot of the historical legacy, but you all are also leaving a legacy, and just so proud. And I now know what I'm going to have for dinner here shortly. So thank you.
Yeah, same here. I'm so proud of all of you, and I'm so proud to be, the city's, your partner in your journey to your dream. And I can only see, sky's the limit at this point. I already taste many of your food except the cow. Wild cow, yeah. That's on my next list to do. But I taste all your product, and I know you're going to be great. So thank you so much for being here. All right, so next item on our agenda is Tigard Youth Advisory Council 2024 National League of City Conference Review. And Management Analyst Richardson will give the staff report and joined by TIAC members. Good evening.
Good evening, Council President Hu, Mayor Loop, and Council. My name is Alex Richardson. I'm sorry I can't be here in person tonight. I'm a little bit under the weather, but I wanted to still be here to help support and just be part of the presentation. I work in the City Manager's Office, and I am the teammate liaison for the Tigard Youth Advisory Council. This is the second year I've taken TIAC Youth to the National League of Cities Conference. This year it was March 10th through 13th. And so presenting the slides will be Youth Councilor Vogel, whom of course you all know, TIAC President Ariana Mann, and TIAC Vice President Shreya Maineni. I guess just a little bit more by way of introduction. This is the first year for everybody that attended this year to attend. So it was a new experience for them all. They'll just share a couple of takeaways and highlights of the trip. And just as the teammate accompanying youth, I always really enjoy the opportunity to do this trip, and I'm really grateful that the city funds this. And I think that the youth get a lot out of it, and I do too. So thanks a lot. And with that, I will go ahead and let Maddie, Ariana, and Shreya go ahead and present the slides. Thank you.
Okay, a little weird being on this side, but next slide, please. Okay, so the first thing that we want to talk about was a little bit of our takeaways that we got from the conferences. I think a big part of it was just being able to connect with other youth leaders, something that we feel like was so vital to bring back to TIAC, and just something that we don't get like a ton of. So getting to connect with people from Texas, making friends from Massachusetts, just getting to see what they do, how their cities run, was something that we felt was super important, and just things that we could take back with us, as well as just working a lot with bipartisan work and a lot about unity, which felt really refreshing, and just being able to be recognized for the local work that we all do was really great for myself as well as Shreya and Ariana. Next slide, please.
So at the conference, there were multiple sessions, specifically youth sessions, that were just a room with all the Youth City people from around the country. And I found it especially interesting how it was to, connect with everyone. Specifically, one conference had us I suppose arguing for a certain side or bill, and I found that really interesting to be on the the people who come up here and talk about how important something is. It was really interesting to see that and to feel in their shoes for a second. And there was also another conference about land reforms and stuff like that, and we talked to people from Texas, and we were able to talk about how amazing Tigard was and how Cook Park is so great and available for everyone in Tigard, and how that's really true for a lot of Tigard itself. Next slide, please.
Okay, so then we attended quite a few general conference sessions. We started off with getting to see President Biden. I mean, there was many other presenters as well. There was the Vice President, President of NLC, many state representatives and mayors. But with that came seeing President Biden make closing remarks, which was something that we just left us all in just absolute shock in the best way possible. It was amazing, and something that is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us. So that was something that we felt was very, very valuable, and a cool fact to tell people coming back from the trip. As well as that, we saw another big highlight for myself, as well as Ariana Trio, was getting to see Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. So he talked about, most importantly, the interstate bridge between Washington and Oregon that was first on his projects list, as well as just other projects happening throughout the country. We were able to hear Oregon cheer for our interstate bridge, how exciting that was. We were front row, which was so exciting, and just, it was a undescribable feeling to just be that close to such amazing politicians. There was many, I would call, I guess, best way I could describe it, fireside chats with questions and questionnaires from the audience, from officials. One that stood out to me was one about the opioid crisis. Very useful tips coming from local elected leaders throughout the country, and just how to deal with that. I mean, especially as youth, these weren't targeted towards youth, but it was something that we all could take in anyways and bring back to TIAC, and also play that back into our youth sessions that Shreya was talking about. And I think we took a lot, and also just made friends, both adult and youth, and just getting to socialize with new people was amazing. We did get to go to the general luncheon, which was incredible, a massive lunch celebrating everything. We made new friends from Grand Prairie, Texas. We were really able to connect, see the differences and see the similarities between Texas and Oregon. And we're able to really get to brag about how Tigard is great and how we love our parks and our city and all of our elected leaders. Next slide, please.
So this next slide is Hill Day. You can see we had many tourist moments on this trip. As Alex mentioned, this is all of our first time going. So you can see up here the pictures of all of us right outside the Capitol. A truly shocking experience, to say the least. Very unique. And this was on the NLC Advocacy Day, so the League of Oregon Cities delegation, we actually all were able to get together in one room and hear from our senators, Wyden and Merkley. We also heard from Congresswoman Val Hoyle and Congresswoman Lori Chavez-DeRemer, all directly. I would say this was the most intimate experience of the trip. It's truly special to be in a room with all people who are experiencing very similar things to you, and everybody here had a purpose. Everybody is looking to get something done, which I think for me was probably one of the leading takeaways. It was just such a unifying experience. And as youth, we don't often get the experience to be a part of that adult conversation. And I know, at least for myself, this is something that I'm interested in pursuing as a career. So I think that for me is very, very special, and just kind of an insight as to what my future may be. And also just overall, it's genuinely inspiring to be valued and be a valued aspect of conversation. It felt really important, us being there, and it was so special. And I will say, Shreya and Maddie will share their questions for our speakers. We took a picture with Congresswoman Lori Chavez DeRaymer. I think the three of us decided that she was probably our favorite speaker of the day. They were all phenomenal, and they all did a really great job connecting with us, which is, again, really special to be in that intimate setting where we're able to feel one with the people who are leading us.
Yeah, I think another part that was my favorite was just getting to connect with people from Lake Oswego and Hillsborough, which is funny because we live so close, but really don't get that chance to just be one-on-one with each other as youth delegates. So I think that was great, just getting to make friends and knowing that we always had an Oregonian buddy, like at youth conferences and youth sessions. So that was amazing, getting to hear their questions as well. They had fabulous questions for the senators and representatives. I don't have my exact questions, but I do have, I just wanted to talk to Val Hoyle about her successes in the workforce retention and teaching, as well as just info in her process with education for her as a congresswoman. I think that's something that we talk about a lot as students in TIAC, and something that we're all interested in, so I felt that would be best to represent sort of what we came up with as a group, as well as just mental health help, access, and awareness, especially around youth, what that looks like for her in her area, as well as just what she feels is the best way to approach that. I think looking for guidance and how we take that with us back to TIAC, because that's one of our main goals for this year.
Yeah, and I do agree with her being one of our favorites because she was very intimate as well. And the question I asked her was about education, like how to make it more accessible, if she had any plans in place or any successes about it. And her answer was very, I suppose, satisfying. She talked about how she plans to do it, and it was very an interesting conversation. And like Ariana said, it was so cool to be in the room where decisions are happening and we feel really important and a part of it.
I also want to mention, I'm pretty sure that in the youth sector, Oregon was the most represented state. I think we had 7 cities that brought youth, so that was really special. Every time Oregon was mentioned, we all cheered, and it was lovely. Next slide, please.
Okay, so this is a little bit of what we did sightseeing-wise. Like Alex said, this was all of our first times in DC, so definitely an eye-opening few days, just getting to see things that we'd all just seen in history books or online. So we started off Monday night with a bus tour in the evening, right as the sun was going down. It was a little chilly, and I was told to wear a jacket, and I did not, so I was freezing the entire time. But other than that, I had a great time. My headphones worked as well as Ariana's headsets, but Shreya and Alex's did not. So I guess we'll kind of talk a little bit about what that was like for us. They played very presidential music, and we were toured through the whole city. We started from DC, right next to the International Spy Museum, went through Arlington, and then ended up at the National Mall, where we were able to give, I think, about 30 minutes just to explore. At nighttime, it's beautiful, and so we were able to see Vietnam Memorial, Washington Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, and just walk around, really take it in. I think at night it was so peaceful and quiet, and also just able to ride the bus with other people that are experiencing this for the first time as well. So that was something that was really connective for me, and I appreciated having my headset work. So I was able to get little facts and tidbits about DC as I was riding around on the top of the bus. So it was a great experience.
Yes, as Shreya and Alex's headsets did not work, I tried my best to narrate. I don't think much came across, but we got some keywords shared with the two of them. The Lincoln Memorial is, I think, probably one of the most hyped up parts about DC, you know, and I'm talking to friends and family about going, and it did not disappoint. We only had about 5 minutes to run up there and see it, but we ran as fast as we could and took as many pictures as possible. It was truly, truly amazing. And then we also had the opportunity to explore the National American History Museum. We only had about an hour to explore, but we did as much as we could. We went straight to that top floor and got to see a lot of the presidential historical artifacts. So some of those are pictured up there. Lots of First Lady dresses, which I think was probably my favorite. Very beautiful and so well preserved. I was very impressed. So yeah.
I was actually also obsessed with the Lincoln Memorial just because of how big it was. It was so massive. I can't stop thinking about it. But to talk more about the actual museum itself, I really enjoyed especially the exhibits on music and the cinema. They had a whole little section of costumes from different movies or musicals and shoes, and it was just so cool. I got to see the little red slippers from Wizard of Oz, oh my god. And it was just such an interesting and incredible experience as a whole. Next slide, please.
Yeah, so that was definitely just the tip of the iceberg of what we got to experience on our trip, and just an overall thank you for allowing us to have this experience, something we might have not been able to experience otherwise. So this was, yeah, there was not even enough words to describe how thankful I was and how just amazing it was to connect with these two as well. I mean, just feeling stronger going into the last little bit of TIAC, letting Ariana go soon, but just being able to feel connected as leaders and bringing that back and getting to tell all of our TIAC teammates that how much fun we had and all the cool things we got to do. They were so excited to listen and bring what we learned back with us. And I'm not sure if you guys want to say anything, but that's what.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate that this is not only a unifying experience, as I mentioned, with our state leaders, but also just with each other. We do a lot of business in TIAC, so we don't necessarily get a whole lot of time to really truly connect with each other. And so it was a really special experience to be able to connect with these two. You know, we shared a hotel room. We woke up to each other's alarms. It was truly lovely. So thank you guys again for allowing us this experience.
I would also like to reiterate, just of how incredible an experience it was, simply because to be where everything was happening was just so monumental. Being in TIAC, you can, we tried to do a lot of important stuff and try to help as much as we can, but to see all these, incredibly important people in power, and, they have all this, prestige on TV, and then we see them in real life, and they're actual humans making actual decisions, and it makes everything feel a lot more possible. Thank you.
And thank you to Councilor Shaw and Council President Hu for being so welcoming and allowing us to have breakfast with you guys and getting to see this and getting tips from you guys from your point of view. We really appreciated it. So.
Thank you. Councilor Shaw?
Yeah, I just want to thank the city for the participation, but also PGE and and just having the three of you as participating and really seeing the advantage of both in the argument, the pro side, the con side, and really weighing both and having that ability to come to a decision, I think was valuable. And just to see Washington, D.C. in your kind of first time experience and with the Lincoln Memorial was just a treasure, having gone there a number of times. There's a little tidbit you had that I had forgotten, so I cherished that. And one question I have for each of you, I know a lot of times you trade city pins, and who out of the three of you got the most city pins that you traded your Tigard city pin for another city pin?
I don't know. I think we each had varying levels. I kept ending up trading with youth councils that had 22 people, and I was I have 9 pins. I can't give you guys all pins. So I think I lost mine within about 3 trades. It's probably not myself, but maybe these two.
We definitely did not count and compare. I will note, though, we at one point approached a group from Georgia and asked them if they had pins to trade. This was a highlight for us. We asked them if they had pins to trade, and the two boys, they looked at us and they were like, oh, sure. And they pulled the pins straight off their suits and handed them to us. They did not bring pins to trade, but they wore our Tigard pins the entire rest of the conference, which was truly wonderful.
Yeah, I doubt anyone remembers the exact amount of pins. One pin that really stuck out to me was the little axolotl pin. That group brought pins and little like a sticker packet and they made a Spotify playlist. This was all about their mental health approach in their city. And like their pin and everything was just so adorable and wholesome. It was so fun to see.
Thank you, and thank you so much for sharing your experience with, and thank you so much, Alex, for chaperoning our youth delegate, and it's really appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
All right, so next item on our agenda is a community service organization update, and it's from Just Compassion. Our strategic initiative program manager, Itzel, will introduce this agenda item and our guest. I guess Kim is not here, so would you please introduce yourself? Welcome.
Good evening, everyone, Mayor Lube, City Council and staff, and all those who are here. My name is Vernon Baker of Just Compassion, the Executive Director, and I brought along a couple of our staff, our team, Michael Austin, who's our Development Coordinator, and also Christy Anderson, who's one of our coordinators for some of our programming. And we thought we would just come and just kind of give an overview of Just Compassion. I'm going to do a brief historical update in terms of how we started, and then I'm going to turn it over to these guys to talk about programming, next steps, and moving forward. Just Compassion started approximately in 2009 with some of our founding board members who are all from the Tigard area, who found themselves on a regular basis interacting with people who are houseless in the downtown area or Fano Creek, and decided to engage in conversations with some individuals. And one of the questions they asked them was, if there was one thing we can do for you, what would you like that to be? And this overarching sentiment was, well, if we could just have a place to wash our clothes and take a shower. And that's what birthed the Showers and Laundry program that kind of got Just Compassion started. And from there, one day a month, those founding board members, along with some other volunteers, would meet at the laundromat on 99 off of Hall, and they would serve lunch, provide laundry opportunities, and then give shower vouchers to some of the nearby churches. And from that, in 2015, Just Compassion received its 501c3 status so that they can apply for grants and look for some funding to just be able to start providing some services and resources for those who were in need. And from that time to 2018, they were operating basically in a building providing services 2 days a week from about 9 to 12, providing a small continental lunch, a breakfast, and a small lunch, and then providing bus tickets and various things like toiletries and things like that, just trying to, as much as possible, help individuals who were challenged with not having any place to live. In 2018 of October, I came aboard as the first executive director, the first staff, and from there we decided to see what we can do to expand our reach and touch within the Tigard area. And over the prior 2 years, we have been leasing or renting a property that we now own. And we decided, we got some funding, some small funding, and we talked to the owner, and they were graciously open to negotiating with us a way for us to purchase the property. So in January of 2019, we entered into an agreement and took on a mortgage. And from there, we just sort of started to grow, writing grants, getting additional funding. In March of 2019, we entered in a conversation with the city of Beaverton because we began to see a heightened level of individuals living in their vehicles and cars. So we wrote a small grant and was accepted by the city of Beaverton to start our safe parking program, which is going into its 5th year. And with that, I will turn it over to Michael to talk about some of our programming along with Christy, and I'll come back in the end and close out. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Michael Austin. I'm the new development coordinator here at Just Compassion. My pronouns are he, him. I love that Vernon's able to talk about where we came from, and now I get to talk about what we've become. And we've really become a company that really services those people experiencing houselessness in a wide variety here. And so here's 6 programs that I'd like to just kind of go over. We have 2 shelters, one in Beaverton, one in Tigard. Collectively, we can accommodate 60 guests per night. And then during the day, we can serve about 100 guests during the day. In those day services, we can do meals, we have guest service rooms for programming, we have access to resources for those experiencing houselessness, and we also have group activities. Both of our shelters are low barrier, which means that we can remove systemic barriers from the process to enhance accessibility for all. The majority of our participants in our shelters are 0 to 30% AMI, which is average median income. And so that's just a little bit about our shelters. And then becomes our street outreach team. These are really the critical people in the step in the process of getting people from off the streets and into housing. We have 2 street outreach coordinators who go out into the community. They're able to interact with members who are unhoused. They're able to provide resources to them. They're able to make sure they're okay, safe conditions, and then they're also the primary responsibility of getting them into shelter or into housing, whatever that may be, so they can connect them with case managers. Which is kind of my next thing, which is we have House Case Management Services, which is HCMS, House Case Management Services within Washington County, so it's a partnership with the county. We employ 4 case managers. They assist with chronic homelessness, so specifically people who've been on the streets for a prolonged period of time, and their main responsibility is to get them into stable housing. At that time, they also provide wraparound services. So our house case managers, they actually have these people on indefinitely, and so the next steps in the process is to help them with other wraparound services that include counseling, addiction services, or just helping them pay utility bills as well too. Next would be rapid rehousing. This is more of like that 0 to 50% of AMI. This has people to do who have either recently been displaced or who are in the process of being displaced from housing. The program's pretty amazing. We can get in there, we can remove barriers for the housing and really provide them a level of assurance so that they don't become houseless and they don't, move to the streets. The next program was we have Continuum of Care, so very similar to all of our other ones where they provide housing assistance, they can eliminate barriers and things like that. The main difference is we're not mandated by the county on this one. And then our last one is safe parking. I'm going to hand that over to Christy, who's going to talk about our safe parking program, and Christy's an instrumental part of this, and she's really powered this to the success it has been.
Thank you, Michael. My name is Christy Anderson, and I'm the Safe Parking Coordinator at Just Compassion. I'm here tonight to talk about our safe parking program. What is safe parking? It's a program that provides safe, legal, quiet place to park. Providing a safe place to park helps people to stabilize their lives and to help gain access to needed services. How does the program work? The City of Beaverton and Just Compassion work together along with 5 host sites. 2 of those sites are city sites, 3 of those are church sites. We have 3 designated spaces for a portable restroom, a storage pod, and a hand washing station. We also have garbage removal services at each location. All the items either stay inside the cars or they have to be inside the storage pods. We provide support and case management to 15 households. Just Compassion has an intake process. They must own their own car, have current tags and registration. They must maintain ownership and maintenance on their cars. Actively working towards stabilizing their lives and their living situation. Do not have a substance issue. We have a no tolerance alcohol and drug policy. We accept cars, vans, trucks, and SUVs. At this time, we don't accept RVs, campers, or trailers. We do a background check. We do not accept a history of sex offenses or person-on-person violent crimes. They must commit to working with a case manager, working towards a plan for stable housing. Must follow code of conduct for site, rules, and the structure of our program. This is a transitional program, so there's a 30-day probationary period, and the program is around 120 days, which is 4 months. And then if they request an extension, that is only if housing is imminent. They also need to have some kind of income or a need to stabilize so that they can work towards getting some kind of income. In Beaverton, we partner with the Beaverton Police Department for referrals and problem solving. Host sites and case managers build relationships with guests. Sites have reduced calls to police with the safe parking program in place. Let's see, program guests serve as informal neighborhood watch. They value safety and quiet. They are the first to alert us if there's anything going on or any kinds of issues on site. From 2019 to 2023, we served 173 individuals with a 65% transition into housing with our program. We are currently working with extending our program into Tigard. The City of Tigard, Just Compassion, and area churches are actively working towards establishing safe parking. Thank you.
I'm going to come back in and talk a little bit about organizational relationships we have, and then also kind of the expansion of what going forward. You can kind of see that we really have an umbrella of services that we're providing for the community. You know, we've got outreach where we're bringing people in. We have our shelters where we can actually help, make sure that they're safe in a safe environment. And then we have, that allows us the ability to do wraparound services. We have the housing case managers, rapid rehousing, that can all be a part of that process too. And you have other services like safe parking, where people who have, again, maybe been recently displaced and need a place to stay that is safe and that is easy to go to. I just want to talk a little bit about our organizational relationships. So we collaborate with multiple other nonprofits and governmental agencies throughout the Tri-County area. Those include Family Promise, WorkSource, Assist, Sequoia, New Narrative, and Bridges to Change, just to name a few of them. A few of the things that I would like to also mention is that we are committed to racial equity as well too. We've partnered with Keeble Gisgombe for diversion, equity, and inclusion training. Our shelter guidelines and organizational bylaws stipulate that all who attend our shelter, resource centers, or seek service are welcome, respected, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, sexual identity, gender, physical, or mental abilities. And then now I just want to talk about a little bit more about our expansion. So really, showcasing how far we've come and what's to come next. A big part of this is we have some new recent hires at Just Compassion, myself being one of them. I'm about 2 months old here at Just Compassion. I'm the development coordinator, so I go over with communications. I'm out here helping with grant and fundraising opportunities as well. We have a program supervisor who is overarching all of our programs and making sure that cross-functionally we can communicate with each other and make sure that we're all on the right page moving forward. We have a community resource coordinator who is out there helping us expand our volunteer network and really connecting with the community specifically, and just so that we can offer more services at Just Compassion. We also have, in addition to the safe parking program, a manager who's helping Christy out and run that department as well. We have our new building that's being developed over in Tigard. I'm sure you've seen all the construction that is going on. We've also we're in the process of getting that back up and running. We have a few little pitfalls, but everything construction is going to be underway this week, so we're really excited about that. That's going to be a 10,000 square foot building. It's going to accommodate by itself 60 individuals, It's going to have more, in combination with our other, we're going to have more guest service rooms. We can offer more services to our participants and to our guests. And that doesn't even include, so all those partners I discussed above, we can bring them in and internally do that. So instead of having to bring our participants or our guests to individuals, we can actually have this happen on site. The last one I'd like to go with is the new neighbor agreement. So this is something we really have started to develop. We've talked to the Tiger business community that is just in the back of our shelter, and then we've also talked to the Knoll apartments that are just across the street. We call ourselves a community-centered, community-driven response, and that really involves community first. And so we want to be good neighbors, and that means that we need to listen to our community in here and then, have feedback and then move forward. And so a big part of that is making sure that we are good neighbors to the community, and we want this to be a safe place for all. And I'm going to give it to Vernon to give some final remarks.
Yeah, I would just like to say, in addition to all that you've heard, Just Compassion, we never truly envisioned ourselves where we are now. But as we entered into the COVID and the impact that had and devastation that it had across our country, the world, and in our cities locally, it was real obvious then that there was a real gap in services and resources for those who were houseless, and it became more upfront and present as a result of COVID. And so we were called on by the county and the city of Beaverton and others to step up and to take a larger role in providing resources and services. So we, the board met and we decided that we were going to do everything we could do to meet the needs of those who were in the most vulnerable and compromised situations. So it wasn't that this was our ultimate goal or objective, but based on the needs in the community that were made present to us, we wanted to make ourselves available. And like Michael was saying, not only being good neighbors, but good stewards of the resources and services that we've been given the responsibility and opportunity to provide to those who are in need. And so we look forward to just moving forward with what we're doing. And Michael mentioned about the good neighbor agreements that we're entered into, because it's really important for us to look at ourselves as a part in a bigger puzzle, if you will, providing services and resources and being a resource to those who are in need, but then also making sure that we're touching our community partners, our stakeholders, and others who are involved in our process and have come alongside of us to support us. And so we appreciate all the things that support that we've received from the City of Tigard and all of our other supporters and those that are volunteering and just really coming alongside of us, because I often say, without you, there wouldn't be a Just Compassion. And so we really appreciate all of you've done, and we just continue to look forward to how we can move forward to make a dent in this challenge that we have with those who are living outside. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Singh, please go ahead.
Thank you all. Thank you for your service to the community. I just want to ask about, I really appreciate y'all coming. This is the first time I've seen y'all present, so it would be great to, continue getting updates and really hearing, relaying what you're hearing from houseless folks to council. So just something to consider in the future. I don't know if y'all already do that with other government entities, but it's just refreshing to hear new perspectives and all the work that y'all are doing. So thank you.
Is Councillor Vogel?
Thank you guys so much again. Just echoing what Councillor Singh said. I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on youth services, if that's something you guys offer, and if the process for that looks any different, if there's a bit more support for adolescents going through a stage in their life where they need that, if you could. If not, that's fine.
We don't directly work with youth ourselves, but we have some community partners that we work very closely with who work with youth and families so that they can get the most appropriate resources and services provided to them. We do have sometimes people who are under 18 who show up at our shelters and our programs, and we real quickly refer them to those organizations within our network that work specifically with youth.
Councillor Shaw.
Great, thank you, Council President Hu. And just want to mention Strategic Initiatives Program Manager Azell is actually at a community meeting tonight. There's discussion of safe lots and really listening and helping to build community trust. So just want to mention that, Council President. And then also, thank you for mentioning the new building that's being constructed. Great to hear that's going to be here imminently. When is the projected conclusion or the completion of that contract or the construction?
Yeah, we're hoping for March of next year, and we're hoping to move then guests in either April or May.
Yeah, thank you all so much for coming here and give a presentation. I concur with Councilor Singh. This is really refreshing to hear all your report, and especially I didn't realize for the Safe Parking Lot program, your tag has to be current. Your car tag is current, right? Because we heard Chief McDonald was telling us police was stopping a lot of car for not having a current tag. So having a tag is actually quite a barrier or, qualification criteria. So that's important to know that you have to be somewhat financially stable to qualify for the program.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. If we have people who are in imminent need and they have those kind of barriers that might prevent them, we do have some funding where we've helped people get tags and things like their tags or their license, or even help people get their driver's license reinstated or things like that, so that they would be viable and appropriate and meet the criteria for our programming as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear, and appreciate the good neighbor agreement as well. So thank you, and please welcome back anytime you want. We really love to hear more updates from you, and thank you for your services.
No worries. Thank you.
All right, next item on our agenda is annual meeting, joint meeting with the library board, and our library director Bernard will introduce this item and our board members. Welcome.
Library people travel in packs. Good evening. Oh, did we lose Mayor Lube? We lost Mayor Lube, but good evening, Council. Members of the Tigard community and fellow Tigard teammates. Again, my name is Halstead Bernard. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the director of the Tigard Public Library. It is my pleasure and honor to be here with you tonight to introduce the Council's annual joint meeting with our library board. And I'm going to go off script for 1 minute to say it's National Library Week. You might know this from the beginning of this meeting, which happened 3 weeks ago now. And today specifically is National Library Workers Day. It's a day where we celebrate all of the people that work in all of the libraries, public, special, academic, all of them, all across the country. And today I am celebrating the wonderful people who work at the Tigard Public Library with me, without which I would not have any report to share with you with a library board, and I really wouldn't even have a job. So if you're watching tonight, thank you for everything that you do, and I appreciate you immensely. And just going back to the script, libraries connect communities in so many ways. And while the cost of a library card is free to our patrons, the intrinsic value of a library card cannot be quantified, though you'll see plenty of numbers here tonight to satisfy our data seekers. But how can you appraise the value of building community connections? How much is lifelong learning worth? What does it cost to save a few minutes of your precious time, to go on to an adventure or to learn a new skill? What is the value of a library card? We can quantify it into the millions, but the true value is priceless. So tonight I'm pleased to introduce our library board members, Candace Coleman and Jenny Stoffel, along with our board chair, Kate Ristaw. I will say also that Mary Bogert is here. Thank you, Mary, for being here. And they're going to tell you all about the value of a library card, and I will be here to answer any questions you might have after our board's presentation concludes. Now I'll hand it off to Chair Ristaw.
Thank you. And of course, we have a PowerPoint that we'll be presenting shortly. So thank you very much, Mayor, councilors, and our favorite counselor, library liaison, Counselor Singh. And thank you for the staff for helping us out tonight. So one of our joys working in the library is stories. So telling stories, listening to stories, reading stories, and stories. But tonight, as Halstead mentioned, we are going to be telling stories through a few numbers because I know y'all like a little numbers. And last time we brought you a whole library of things, but this time we're bringing you a whole bunch of numbers. So do we have a PowerPoint?
Eric?
Because otherwise I have an ability to make up numbers, but you don't want that.
There we go.
Perfection. Thank you very much. If you want to go ahead and go on to the next slide. So numbers, we have numbers for you. So calculating the value of libraries, because a lot of times we talk about how important libraries are and the story of libraries, but the story of libraries is also in the numbers. So you can go to the store and you can buy a book for $22.18, the average retail cost of a book, or you can head to the library. And when we buy those books at the library, they get, let's see, 463,198 checkouts, the first checkouts in 2023. So that idea that a book that you buy, you can buy yourself, or you can head to the library and get it for free. And that value of the collection in the library is $5 million. So that idea that there's all of these different stories that you can go in and find and explore and learn about too. And you can also see the average retail cost of an ebook as well as the cost of a reference question. And I thought about the cost of a reference question a lot because one of the things that happens, you know, when you're stuck on an idea or you're trying to figure out something or you need to get a little bit more research, the library is one of the best places to go. But sometimes you're sitting at home and you're like, you could just send a quick email. So you can send a quick email to the library and library workers will answer that email. And so when we think about the cost of that reference question, it's $7, but we had 18,000 of those reference questions answered. So that's everything from people coming up and asking questions at the reference desk to sending in an email or working with the chat. So the value of that reference question, those reference questions, $131,000. So you can start to see the value of your library coming together. Can I have the next slide, please? Because we have more numbers for you. So next slide. So you can start to see the interlibrary loan. You can see the patrons coming in. That means that if you go to our library and you can't find exactly what you're looking for, or you want to go a little deeper. So say you're going and you're researching about Curtis Tigard and you want to find out a little bit more. So you head to the history room and you go into the local history room and you look around and then you talk to somebody over at the Tigard Historical Association and then you realize you need a few more books but they're not at our library, so then you go to another library. And basically all of these libraries are all open to you and those resources and those things that you need to find out more. Also, we'll talk a little bit more about study room usage, so I'll skip that one for now, but I'll also tell you that every time you walk into the Tigard Public Library, you'll find people at computers. And at those computers, they're doing work from research to looking for jobs to finding economic development resources. If you're searching for whatever you need kind of to build your life in all those different ways, the library has it. And that hours of usage, 20,987 hours of people on the computer doing work and also maybe having some fun too. Come on. So we also had those $89. That $89 up there represents the AARP tax filings. So we work with AARP to do a tax filings where you can make an appointment and you can work with a tax professional to prepare your taxes. And we had 987 appointments in 2023, total of value of $87,843. Why that matters is it means that people are able to get the support and the help they need to file their taxes. And that also includes families and organizations and businesses. So people coming in and getting the help they need for nothing except for the cost of their library card, which is free. Next slide, please. And now we're onward.
Hi, my name is Candace Coleman, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about meeting spaces and community in our library. First of all, we have several different meeting spaces and rooms, including our new, you'll see in this photo, this is the new flexible technology space that recently opened and is available to our community to reserve for their own meetings, sessions, craft workshops, anything you could think of to do in that room that's available to you as a community member of Tigard to reserve. We also have the Burgess Community Room, which is bigger and does a lot of library programming, the Children's Room, Pewitt Room. We have a very, very, very active youth library. And then there's also some quiet spaces. If you're not there to visit with people and would like to just enjoy your book or have some quiet time, overlook the backyard of the library, it's beautiful. That would be our local history room, and then the Houghton Room too. So next slide, please. And then in addition to that, we talked about the new meeting space, but we also do have those study rooms that Kate mentioned, and they were booked for 6,058 hours last year. So they get used by all sorts of folks. $50 an hour, the rate of that would be $302,000 over the year. There's also, in addition to that, some teen-only spaces. And of course, we have the Opportunity Cafe that's in the lobby, and we all met Michelle earlier this evening and heard about what she's doing in that lobby space. It's a fabulous opportunity for community members to meet, have a tasty treat, and enjoy the space. Next slide, please. This is some of the rooms that I mentioned, the Houghton Room there with the comfy furniture, and then our kids space, where we host a number of sessions of story time in that space, and then the community room there as well. Next slide, please. So connecting with the community, there are hundreds of events at the Tigard Library every year. We've gathered some quotes from a few different things that take place there. There's a weekly English conversation group where people come together to practice their English. There's 7 countries and languages represented at that group that meets. And this is a quote from one of the participants who said, "During this time, you have taught us more about humanity through your behavior than English." Next slide, please. And this is a quote that just goes back to talk about the excellent customer service that defines the patron experience at the Tigard Library. This is a community member who often visits the library, and he said he always wants to clean things up because library teammates are always good to me, talk to me, and don't treat me any differently because I'm homeless. He touched his heart and said, "It's hard being homeless, but you make it easier for me because you're kind, and I appreciate it very much." Next slide, please. Just another thank you from somebody at the library regarding the coffee and conversation experience that happens there at the library. It says, "Thanks again for your monthly coffee and conversation. The party-like food and atmosphere is truly an invaluable resource and departure for some of these less than perfect times." So you can see how people come and find joy at the library too. Next slide. And this shows you another space. This is actually the teen space at the library. And a patron stopped by to ask how often the teen area is used. And, well, it's used a lot when they're out of school, not as much when they're in school. She also said it's a really cool place to have for just teens. So that's their little teen alcove in there. Next slide, please. And then again, the outreach that happens throughout the community. There was a recent City of Tigard event planning survey, and the library presence at these events was the most requested feature for both the 2024 Juneteenth event and the Pride celebrations that are coming up. So people really look forward to engaging and interacting with the library and our community, even outside of the library. Next slide. And then I'm going to pass it back to Kate to talk a little bit about our e-learning and online learning.
Yeah, so when you think about the library, we've talked a little bit about being in the library, but you don't have to do everything inside the library. We have lots of resources that you can use online and through e-learning, and we're going to talk about a few of these if you want to head to the next slide. One of my personal favorites is actually Libby. I also like LinkedIn. Let's go back one now. So Libby is also my husband's favorite because I've spent significantly less on ebooks this year and last year. So Libby is an easy way for you to get ebooks and audiobooks. It's an app on your phone, and it actually can download directly to your Kindle. If you're not using it, you should use it. It's really great. I also really use it for audiobooks, and it's a great way to get those books and get them right on demand when you need them and when you want them to. And then you can also place books on hold and find books that, that you didn't know were even out there. So the total number of ebook checkouts, I'm back to my numbers, 293,126, and that value of per ebook circulation in 2023, 9.8 million. So when we look at the library budget and we talk about what the budget is doing for us and what the library is doing for us, we're starting to see these numbers climb up and up and up and up in terms of what you can get as a patron and the value we also get. So let's go to the next one, because I did want to talk about it. It's LinkedIn Learning. So as we think about how you can access different resources, and let's say there was a person who, during a visit to the Family Promise Bridge to Home Shelter, we restored library access to a mother and her child who are staying there. The mother was overwhelmed with excitement at getting to log into LinkedIn Learning to refresh her graphic design skills for future employment. So we can see some of those online learning platforms being available and being a way of having employment training and having it in a very accessible, free, straightforward way. So we have that annual subscription cost of $239 that then translates to over 4,000 logins. So that's people finding the resources they need to improve their careers, their education, their lives. Next slide. We have more numbers for you. So Canopy, though, is, in case you have missed some of the Oscar-winning and Oscar-nominated films, most of them are actually available on Canopy. So you don't have to pay for Hulu, Disney Plus, all the other ones that you, when you're weighing that, like, should I get Netflix or should I get Hulu? You should just go on Canopy and see if it's on there first for free. So we had a total stream of 228,966, and you see that big number there in terms of the value of that service too. Can I have the next slide? Because the next slide is, anybody read the New York Times? So if you're reading the New York Times or doing some of some other magazines and readers, you can actually do those for free through the library. So you can log in through the library and you don't have to pay for your subscription. And because that's paid for through a subscription at the library. So we have an annual digital subscription to the New York Times is $325, and this 2022 to 2023, we had over 407,000 people logging in and reading on there. So you're starting to see that we're talking about ebooks, we're talking about online learning, we're also talking about newspapers, magazines, and all these different ways that you can access resources without going into the library. You can also do it inside the library with Tamale, just a reminder. And sorry I'm mentioning tamales, but they're good. Next slide. And language learning. If you note over there on the side, we have a community member said that she was able to be more successful in high school, even though her family couldn't afford private tutoring because of library access to virtual on-demand tutoring. So one of those new things that the library provides is the BrainFuse Help Now, which is free online tutoring. So you can get help on math, you can get help on economics, you can get help on business strategies, you can get language games and spoken pronunciation. And so all those things are there as additional resources to make your learning just a little bit easier. Next slide. And exciting projects.
Hi, my name is Jenny Stoffel, and I am new to the Tigard Library Board this year. It's been like jumping onto a train in motion, and just totally awe-inspiring.
So I'm going to talk about some new initiatives and innovations, and in response to community feedback, some of which came from the brand new fledgling Climate Action Tigard group. We are starting our first seed library this summer. The turnaround time for this response was maybe 2 weeks between the request coming in and the library saying, hey, here we go with the seed library. So it was just incredible responsiveness and connection with the Community Action Tigard and other community members who've also requested this. Next slide, please. And then furthering the purpose of accessibility, the Tigard Library started the Holds Locker pilot project this year, and it has been incredibly well received. That means that people can come to the library after hours or before hours in some cases and collect their books that they're checking out if they can't make the regular open hours. So there have been over almost close to 2,000 items checked out since October 1st. And you can read the community members who respond about how much easier it makes their lives and how much more accessible it makes the library services to them. And next slide. And continuing with accessibility for more, helping to create accessibility around our community, around different institutions. There are some recent additions to the adventure passes. The Five Oaks Museum, the Japanese American Museum, the Portland Art Museum, Portland Japanese Garden, and the Portland Opera. So you can check out an adventure pass and show up at the opera. I think that's really cool. Yeah, next slide.
Yeah, so when we look at the value of our library card, we'll say it's priceless. We gave you lots of numbers and lots of things to think about, but when we look at the library, we see the library both reaching out into the community and also the community coming into the library and gathering there. And we have that phrase around the library that it's a community hub of knowledge and enrichment where everyone feels welcome. And I think you can see through all these projects and programs and things that are happening that library cards can mean so much more to our community as a whole. They mean opportunities, health, inclusion, connections, safety, conversations, and experiences. So they mean access to a world of possibility. So you should come to the library. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Singh?
What an amazing presentation. Very thorough and just really informative, and definitely going to be referring back to that. So many resources. So just want to thank all of you for the service you're providing and just spreading awareness. So thank you for being here tonight.
Councilor Shaw?
Great, thank you. Well, I learned something new. I did not know you could have LinkedIn Learning. And it said that the subscription cost was $239.88. That's not that's borne by the library and not the individual?
Yes, if an individual were to subscribe to LinkedIn Learning, that's what it would cost. I do want to note that all of the e-resources that we talked about are paid for by our WCCLS, which stands for Washington County Cooperative Library Services. So ebooks, LinkedIn Learning, New York Times subscription, and it's important to note because we couldn't do what we do without their support. But yes, that's what it would cost an individual.
Thank you so much. That's great to know. I have not yet subscribed, but I was considering it, so now I don't need to. And also, I just wanted to say I have a Tigard historical book here. Margaret left, or I would have shown her too, but I'm currently reading it, and when I'm through, I'd love to donate it. So you probably have it, but it'll be one more.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm personally a big consumer of the library audiobooks because I'm reading all day, so it's good to fall asleep to audiobook. But I didn't see the value of that audiobook in any of your presentations.
That's included in the value of Libby because that's how we the e-audiobooks you're referring to, right? Through Libby.
Yeah, I use Libby. Yeah.
Yep. So both ebooks and e-audiobooks in that.
Got it. All right. So wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your presentation and for your great work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Next item on our agenda is heat pump adoption program with Earth Advantage, and Economic Development Specialist Escalera and Economic Development Manager Purdy will present this agenda item, and they will introduce our guest. Hello again. Hello, Tina.
Good evening, Council. I want to first thank Molly Hatfield. There she is. Great. She's joining us tonight from Earth Advantage. We'll introduce her in a little bit. I just want to make sure she's with us and has audio. I think she does. Great. Council, colleagues, community members, I'm Lloyd Purdy. I'm the Economic Development Manager for the City of Tigard before you again this evening. Excited to talk to you about a new program we're rolling out. There's no council action needed for you at this time. This is an update about a program that we're excited about. You don't need to make any formal decisions. We're going to talk to you tonight about an incentive program that's actually funded initially by the Oregon Department of Energy. They're providing more than $1.5 million to communities in the metro region, the 4-county region, to help reimburse residents who install high-efficiency heat pumps in their homes. Later, Tina will explain to you how this process works, but I'm excited to say we're the first community, the first sponsor of this in Washington County, and we're doing this, as you'll learn, through a partnership with Earth Advantage. So we're not the only key entity in this program, but we're the first to work with Earth Advantage in Washington County to do this program. So Tina's going to introduce you to the program, tell you a little bit about our key program partner, and eventually Molly will talk to us a little bit about what Earth Advantage does. Then I'll share with you some of the economic development intersect between this program that, one, aligns with the council's sustainability goals and also supports our economic mobility and our small business support efforts. So with that said, Tina, will you share with everybody a program overview, a little bit about our partner, and some of the program details?
Sure, thank you so much. Well, good evening. Thank you so much for having. I'm Tina Escalera, Economic Development Specialist, and today I'm super excited to talk about our new something that City of Tigard Community Development Team and Economic Development Team has been working on. We are launching a new program to encourage homeowners in the city to install new energy efficient heat pumps. This will offer up to $11,000 per household in reimbursement funds that will go towards the purchase and installation of a heat pump. A little bit of a breakdown on that. $5,000 go towards standard efficiency heat pumps. $7,000 will go towards high efficiency heat pumps, and there's also an additional $4,000 that is a homeowner would be eligible for additional upgrades such as basic weatherization, such as insulation, air sealing, and duct sealing that are eligible upgrades. It's going to be called Tigard's Heat Pump Cash-In Program. The incentive was created after Tigard City Council adopted a goal to address climate change. Nearly 40% of Tigard's greenhouse gas emissions come from existing buildings, most of which rely on gas for space heating. Space and water heating in Tigard's residential and commercial buildings account for more than half of all greenhouse gas citywide. And funding for this program, as Lloyd touched on, comes from Department of Energy, which developed the Community Heat Pump Deployment Program that provides grants eligible to eligible entities to provide financial assistance for the purchase and installation of heat pumps and related upgrades to individuals who reside within the region. In 2023, Oregon Department of Energy identified Earth Advantage as a regional administrator for the Portland metro area with $1.5 million in funds that are available. Earth Advantage is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to fostering an informed and compassionate residential real estate market. They prioritize acknowledging the climate impacts of housing and the reciprocal influence of climate on housing, ensuring that all homebuyers and renters have access to sustainability-related information and properties. Furthermore, Earth Advantage strives to promote equitable housing outcomes, particularly safeguarding vulnerable communities from the ramifications of climate change. They emphasize the personal and societal value of climate-friendly housing. And today we do have Molly representing Earth Advantage that will be joining us and telling us a little bit more about Earth Advantage.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I am sorry I can't be there in person. I too am under the weather, but I'm just delighted to be here to speak with you today. And thank you, Tina, for just the wonderful introduction to Earth Advantage. As she mentioned, my name is Molly Hatfield, and I'm the Senior Climate Justice Program Manager at Earth Advantage. As Tina mentioned, Earth Advantage is a nonprofit organization that does work to advance a more informed and a more humane housing market. Our work is centered around climate-friendly housing, workforce training, data solutions for the housing market, and climate justice. And the Heat Pump Cash-In program does fall under Earth Advantage's climate justice portfolio. It is part of the Community Heat Pump Deployment Program, which, as Tina mentioned, is funded by the Oregon Department of Energy. We were selected as the regional program administrator for the Metro, the Mid-Valley, and the South Valley Mid-Coast regions in Oregon. And in this role, we ensure that funding is appropriately distributed and that program partners like the City of Tigard have adequate support. We are very, very excited to bring Tigard on board. We are looking forward to working together to help provide more heat pump access. And it is my personal hope that Tigard's program can serve as a model for other cities who want to support their communities in this way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Molly. A little bit of details on the program. Before launching the Heat Pump Cash-In program, I did incorporate a lot of my business visits that I do with Tigard-based HVAC contractors and suppliers to get feedback on the best approach to marketing the program. The feedback that was given to me was that they are the ones that are typically getting the phone calls for the heat pumps, so it's a good thing to let contractors know the ins and outs of them. They also did give us information that we should target homeowners that have homes within the age of 18 to 28-year-old homes, as this is the average expectancy of an HVAC system. So as far as our marketing, we are going to be targeting homeowners in the city of Tigard that are within that age range of home. We are going to be sending out mailers on top of all the personal visits that I've done with HVAC businesses within the city, informing them that Tigard households are eligible for this. We have a social media campaign that we have planned to incentivize and let homeowners know of the program. Informative videos featuring local Tigard HVAC businesses are being created as well. And we will also be sending out information via our utility billing mailer. The way the program will work is the homeowner will apply online via the city website. There will be a prioritization for the application. Applications determined to be low income will be prioritized. And once the application is deemed complete, I will then put in a request for hold of to reserve funds with Earth Advantage. The contractor has 90 days to complete work from when the funds are reserved. And once the work is completed, inspected, and deemed complete, the City of Tigard will disperse the funds directly to the contractor because it will reduce the out-of-pocket cost to the homeowner. And then Earth Advantage will reimburse the city based on the funding that was reserved at the beginning of the process. The residential heat program reduces home operating costs, saves energy, and adds a non-polluting upgrade to participating Tigard homes. Carbon responsible investments in residential homes improves the value of what is often the most important financial asset in a family, which is their home. And by removing some of the cost burden of a green investment, the state of Oregon, Earth Advantage, and the city of Tigard hope to encourage more homeowners at every income level to adopt heat pumps and energy efficient improvements. And I will have Lloyd talk about a little bit with the connection with ECDEV.
Thanks, Tina. Thank you, Tina. So Molly and Tina told you a little bit about our primary partner, Earth Advantage. Tina walked through an overview of this program. I think it's important to also understand why the economic development team and the community development partner are focused on this project. This work is an advancement of, yes, the council's sustainability goals, but also our economic mobility priorities. We talked earlier about the Opportunity Cafe and Launchpad and how that helps entrepreneurs start businesses, build wealth. Well, this is a way we can help as a city. We can help residents build intergenerational wealth, support residents as they are investing in their homes, which is usually,
Tina, could you swap mics or get
no-
another one for?
no audio.
It's not coming through. Thank you.
So we're going to take it from the top? I'm just kidding. I'm glad I got a laugh. Oh, yeah, that's louder. Okay, so we're talking about economic mobility and how this is helping residents build wealth in their homes, which is a fabulous way to support our community. We also know that a heat pump is not a trivial expense. The cost will range from a couple thousand to $7,000 just for the heat pump itself. So this is a way to reduce a cost for residents, especially low-income residents, homeowners, to upgrade their homes. This is also a chance for us to continue our workforce development and our equity-focused work in workforce development. This program that Tina's sharing with you will work very nicely with another program we're creating, where we're working with some organizations also that are well known by Earth Advantage to train and develop the skill set of Tigard entrepreneurs or Tigard-based companies in the green trades. So let's say there's a painter and he or she has a company, they do painting, they realize that they can get into insulation or other work that's in the green business sector. They just need some training. We can provide that training to them. Or this is somebody that's in a certain type of line of business in the trades but wants to get into HVAC installation. We can help them to get that training through this new program we're rolling out. And then when a customer says, I'm interested in the heat pump program, we'll have a list of entrepreneurs in Tigard that are prepared to do that work. So that's a separate program. You'll hear more about that later, but this is a chance to align some of these programs. And then the third point why this is a good economic development program for us is really based on Tina's expertise with grant making. She's done a really excellent job over the last year and a half, maybe 2 years, of our urban renewal TIF, our tax increment finance grant making for downtown in the Tigard Triangle. A lot of those skills are relevant to the process she's set up for making grants to basically homeowners and their contractors, the payment process, the reimbursement process, the making sure the work gets done process. So the economic mobility focus, the workforce focus, and Tina's natural talent in grant program administration make this a really good home for this program in the economic development team. I think that's all the information we wanted to get out to you. We certainly have a little bit of time, if you have time, for any follow-up questions that Tina might be able to answer, that Molly might be able to answer, or that I might be able to answer. Yeah,
Councilor C.
Thank you all. Thank you, Tina and Lloyd and Molly, for all this work. I'm really excited about heat pumps. But yeah, I just want to thank you all for this program. And one of the questions, I think, heat pumps are going to be important. And there's a lot of funding at the state and federal level coming down. And one of the things I'm interested in is how you all are going to track progress. So a lot of heat pumps are being installed, and just seeing the sort of the return on investment, and also how much money folks are going to be saving, I think is going to be important to share out. And then also, just thinking about maintenance of heat pumps as well as repairing them, thinking long term around that, and figuring out ways to educate homeowners and folks, low-income folks and folks who may not speak English, educating folks on how to maintain them and repair. I think it's an opportunity for workforce development too. So just some things to consider and think about, but hopefully there's collaboration going on to track all that progress.
Yes, great thoughts, and embedded in that the question of how we're tracking progress. Tina will be developing a tracking spreadsheet, basically, where we'll be able to measure at what step each participant is in the process from start to completion. So we'll get a sense of any one time how many people have inquired about the program, and what steps they're in, and who is finished. And of course, we'll know the dollar amounts of how much they've invested, because the contractor will have to submit those invoices in order to get reimbursed. So we'll know that from tracking. And yes, potentially, if we can stand up this workforce program, we'll have a way to help Tigard businesses, Tigard-based entrepreneurs do not just that install, but that potential follow-up work. But certainly right now we're focusing on getting this one stood up. But you're right, there's a follow-up aftercare opportunity.
Councilor Shaw.
Great, thank you so much for the presentation. Exciting opportunity, and the collaboration is fantastic. And perhaps this is a question for Molly, but you had mentioned the 1.5 billion from, what's that?
Million.
Okay, so 1.5 million from the Oregon Department of Energy. Is that statewide, or is that just for the region here?
Thank you.
That is.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yes, that is just for the metro region. There is about 3.8 that we administer for the Metro and Mid-Valley and South Valley Mid-Coast region, and then the full state has about 8.5 million available in this program.
Great. So is it divided between, like, how many is Tigard available? How many are available to Tigard residents?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead, Lloyd. Apologies.
Molly, you're perfectly qualified to answer this question.
Yeah, so we do have a few installers that are operating in this region. The way that we work is we get estimates from each of our program partners. We set aside a certain amount of the funds based on those estimates, which we guarantee. And usually that funds about 20 to 40 heat pumps. It does depend a lot on the specifics of the projects. And then outside of that reservation, there is a first come, first served pool of funds. So it's a system that has worked really well in our other areas so far, and we don't expect any issues here.
Great, thanks. So about 20 to 40 heat pumps we're looking at approximately?
I will say that that's what others have installed kind of with the same amount of funds. It depends heavily on specifics. So I think that is kind of, I would say that that's kind of a thumb in the air best guess. But, you know, if the per project cost is lower, we could see much, much more than that.
Great, that's very helpful. Thank you, Molly, and thank you, Lloyd. And then with the workforce development, is that going to be an apprenticeship program, or is it tied to apprenticeships?
Great question, thank you. It's a training program that will hopefully be delivered by a nonprofit partner who we haven't picked yet, that has expertise in the green trades. So not quite an apprenticeship program. That would be maybe more than we're ready to tackle right now. It would be recruiting Tigard entrepreneurs into the program, or Tigard-based businesses, the training, and then what I'm really excited about is some amount of aftercare or mentoring after someone goes through that training. That's how we've set up this idea, and we're about a week out from an RFP that would invite somebody to compete for that opportunity to do that training, do that mentoring, and do that recruitment. So it's not quite an apprenticeship program.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lloyd, again, and thank you, Tina, and thank you, Molly, for your presentation.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too. Counselor, we have one more 30-minute presentation left. Does anybody need a break? Are you okay? Power through? Okay, so we're going to power through the last presentation on the Red Rock Creek Trail Preferred Alignment, and it's going to be presented by Project Planner Packenstarcher. Gary, welcome.
Thank you, Council President Hu. Councilors, good evening. So I have the slides are up. I'm Gary Packenstarcher, Project Planner and Project Manager of the Red Rock Creek Trail Alignment Study, which just concluded in March. This seems like it's echoing a lot. Is there a fix for that? Which just concluded in March. With this presentation, I'm happy to share the study findings culminating in the preferred alternative alignment. The AIS included this PowerPoint, but also the Red Rock Creek Trail final report to support deeper dives if you have interest. Slide, please. The trail alignment is a greenway trail that follows the Red Rock Creek for 2 miles down the western flank of Mount Sylvania, with an elevation drop of over 200 feet, most of which occurs upstream of Dartmouth. In 2019, when the city applied for regional flexible funds from Metro for the alignment study, these listed activities were in play in the watershed. We had the equitable urban renewal implementation strategy, which identified the trail as the highest value improvement in that study for equitable outcomes, providing connectivity and walkability. Walkability being the most equitable form of transportation. The Southwest Corridor Light Rail was just about to come to a screeching halt in 2019. But before that, Tigers in the Triangle, where the Greenway would provide significant new access to nature. Next slide, please. So in this image, we'll provide a context for the development of the preferred alternative trail alignment at the time of the Metro grant application. The overall area shown here includes downtown and the Tigard Triangle. Together they comprise the Metro designated Tigard Town Center, the very central part of our city. In green is the Red Rock Creek concept alignment before the refinement that this project created. And that area goes from Faneuil Creek on the south to the I-5 64th Pacific Highway intersection at the north. In red is the regional trail system. The bottom right of the image shows Tiger Lake Oswego Trail coming up to I-5. The top right shows trail number 5 of the Portland system, and then our own Faneuil Creek Trail, regional trails. So you can see how this trail fits in as a connector between those. And in yellow is the Southwest Corridor Light Rail braiding with our trail alignment and crossing in 4 places. Next slide. So this project occurred over the past year in 2023 and a little bit further into March. The goal to determine the preferred alignment for the Red Rock Creek Trail, building on the body of work prepared by the City of Tigard, aligning with existing policies and trail design guidelines, and conducting a transparent process that considers impacts to the environment, permits and construction, user experience, such that Tigard can now apply for project implementation funding. The alignment study project included a robust engagement process to narrow and refine the alignment segments. The project team created a stakeholder work group of 25 representatives from the public agencies, private property owners, and local residents. Utilizing a series of meetings, online surveys, focus groups, individual interviews, and public workshops, the engagement process provided multiple opportunities to gather comments regarding the trail and scoring of the alignment segments. Next slide. 6 trail segments were identified for analysis, with segment A at the confluence with Faneuil Creek Trail and segment F terminating at the 64th Avenue crossing at Pacific Highway at the I-5 southbound on-ramp. Alternatives included potential greenway and on-street alignments with segments A. The segment A single alignment was confirmed from a prior type size and location report for the railroad crossing bridge, and segment C, Hunsinger to Dartmouth, generating numerous alternatives to address natural resource impacts, Highway 217 barrier, in coordination with Southwest Corridor elevated guideway. Altogether, there were about 30 alternative segments considered. Next slide. Utilizing the criteria listed here, each alignment was scored. The public and stakeholders in the work group provided comments on the alignments. The refinement process also included high-level technical analysis from the various sub-consultants. The comprehensive feedback allowed the project team to refine the preferred alignment. It emerged from balancing these sometimes conflicting design criteria listed. The alternative segments not included in the preferred alignment will serve as interim trail segments until the preferred alignment can be realized. Some existing trails will fulfill that role. Other alternatives considered may form local loops. Next, we'll look at implementation and visualizations of prioritized segments. Next slide. So the prioritized segments in year 0 to 5 and then out years from left to right. The final report includes a 10% design plan for each of the 6 segments to be used as the basis of project and design development as implementation funding and private development opportunities arise. The segments have been roughly prioritized by readiness in coherence with ongoing developments along the trail's length. For example, A1 is supported by the 30% type size and location report done for the railroad crossing bridge and the Fields Parcel project development. A2 and B1, B4 use portions of the Wall Street right-of-way and expands its capacity. D2 improves the existing alignment along the AutoZone property where it meets Dartmouth, and D4 constructs the trail improvements in the space allocated within the vegetated corridor provided by the stream stabilization and enhancement plan. We'll look at some of these a little more closely in the final slides. Next slide, please. These segment-based design, development, and construction cost estimates are based on today's dollars, but do include a 40% contingency. Easement and right-of-way acquisition estimates have been included where needed. Refined cost and estimates will follow with segment project development. These next slides offer a glimpse of what we can expect over the next few years as the Red Rock Creek Trail begins to take shape. Next slide, please. This is from 2020 OTAX type size and location report for the railroad crossing bridge. The aerial on the left, you can see the library where we are in the lower left, and the green field area is where the Fields property is across the tracks to the right. And the bridge connecting the two. The details show how the system of ramps and structure get up and over a 2-span bridge over the railroad right-of-way and Wall Street. Next slide. And this is the bottom of the D section between Dartmouth and 68th. This is at the egress from Costco, that intersection everyone travels out of Costco. And you see a crossing here. This is currently a lighted intersection, and there's a boardwalk that goes straight off of that crossing up into the AutoZone parking lot and on. And this is a way to improve the geometry of the trail from its current use of the parking lot all the way to Dartmouth, and creates a better user experience as well. That upstream of Dartmouth segment you see there is all elevated boardwalk. Next slide. So this is looking upstream from AutoZone at Atlanta to the 74th Avenue crossing to TriMet Park and Ride. This image shows an expanded vegetated corridor and potential Tiger Triangle Park site that results from daylighting Red Rock Creek through this portion of the theater site. The Red Rock Creek Greenway is pinched in some reaches, but in this segment, it may be more generous, improving user experience and access to nature. Next slide. Looking downstream from 72nd Avenue between the theater and the TriMet sites, Section D has been considered in the ongoing Red Rock Creek Stream Stabilization and Enhancement Capital Improvement Project. The two projects are coordinated so that the vegetated corridor design, which has included sufficient area to accommodate the trail alignment, and will be graded accordingly in anticipation of a follow-on trail improvement project in the near term. Next slide, please. So Red Rock Creek Trail implements the city's strategic vision and priorities and city council goals. The preferred alignment now sets up the city for implementation to realize the benefits for the community. So the alignment will be codified in the months ahead. Later this month, the MAID code amendments will include revision of the Tiger Triangle Transportation Network map, which has this refined alignment, replacing the more generalized one that's currently there. And also in future transportation system plan updates, you can see the portion of the alignment that's out of the triangle will be amended. And lastly, the Red Rock Creek Trail will be included in the Trails Master Plan update, which is currently underway in existing conditions, and probably next year will be completed. Next slide, and questions if you have some. I realize it's late. This is meant to be just a briefing, and so that's been done.
Thank you.
Free to go.
Thank you. Questions? Councilor Shaw?
Yeah, perhaps comment first, and I just want to thank Gary because he actually gave this presentation last night at the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting, so thank you for providing that information. So there were a lot of questions that were asked last night, so, and I don't want to repeat some of them because they will be both televised but in the minutes. But there were really good questions about just alignment. Maybe a highlight one was if the Southwest Corridor doesn't come, do those pedestrian bridges still get built? And yes, the consideration is they would. So it's not dependent on the Southwest Corridor. So that may be a question our constituents would have. And then also one question, Gary, that didn't get asked last night was why the elevated boardwalks in certain locations? And is that significantly more expensive?
Elevated boardwalks are used generally where you want to minimize conflict with natural resources, because it's you need the alignment to make sense, and you want to protect the resource. So boardwalks do that. They elevate it, like the Universal Plaza boardwalk to Trout Creek. Trout Creek Trail uses them liberally, the portion that's being constructed now. So it's fairly typical practice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. And I have no further
You're welcome.
questions, so thank you so much. All right, councilors, we have no executive session today and no non-agenda items, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I second the motion.
Okay, the motion to adjourn is being made and second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Heard none. The motion is adopted by unanimous vote of the council present. All right, good night, everyone.